Other lords drew elite cavalry, rare mages, archers, and soldiers. Qin Wang received an F-rank token for recruiting one ordinary maid. 7 days later, that servant defended an unbreakable territory. Before that reversal, Qin owned a collapsing hut and 10 terrified refugees. The void tide would erase every failed lord after one protected week. His useless token, however, was an evolvable target hiding a divine path. One touch transformed her into Elaine, a rare divine attendant. She arrived with healing, purification, sacred blessings, administration, and legendary potential. By the first night, Qin had clean water, stronger walls, and enemies retreating from his gate. The region had mocked an F-rank lord, then watched his name appear on the defense leaderboard. To understand that impossible rise, the story returns to his first minute inside the void. An iron sky pressed over a wasteland filled with dead trees, broken stone, and crawling black mist. Behind Qin stood a lord's hut so rotten that every gust threatened to finish the demolition. He had transmigrated into this parallel blue star only 3 days earlier. That timing left him almost no chance to learn the rules native students studied for years. Every adult eventually entered the void of 10,000 races and received an initial territory. They had 7 protected days to gather people, build defenses, and prepare for the first monster tide. Survivors became official lords, while defeated territories vanished with every soul inside them. Qin understood the danger, but he lacked the detailed education everyone else considered basic. His panel showed a level 0 hut, 10 refugees, limited grain, scarce water, and a 1-kilometer territory. Those refugees watched him because their lives now depended on his decisions. Nearby deadwood offered lumber, loose rocks offered stone, and the distant black mist offered almost certain death. The region channel immediately filled with lords celebrating cavalry, flame mages, militia, and elven archers. Someone also reminded everyone to disable public permissions before revealing valuable information. Qin felt a warning in his stomach, but the novice reward distribution had already started. 3 lights descended, granting a well blueprint, an unknown talent, and 1 pale wooden recruitment token. Before he could inspect them, the system publicly exposed his token to the entire region. It identified his reward as an ordinary MAID recruitment token with an F-rank initial rating. The channel exploded with jokes about tea service, emotional support, and a servant cheering, while monsters ate everyone. Even rational lords advised Qin to trade the MAID away for basic militia before it became worthless. He ignored the humiliation and searched his interface for the mistake that exposed him. Every privacy toggle had been enabled by default, including rewards, buildings, coordinates, and real name trading. Native students learned to shut those permissions instantly, but Qin had never attended those lessons. He disabled everything, knowing the information already leaked could never be pulled back. From that moment forward, the region would only see the weak cards he allowed them to see. Qin then examined the talent that had appeared inside his soul. It carried no normal rank, only the description unknown, evolvable, and currently dormant. The activation condition required him to touch something capable of evolution. His attention returned to the MAID token everyone had already dismissed as trash. The moment his fingers tightened around it, heat spread through his palm. A hidden prompt recognized the token and revealed 2 separate evolution paths. One path created an elite head MAID, useful, but still limited to ordinary territory management. The second path reached beyond standard classifications and produced a rare divine attendant apprentice. A broken crown fragment awakened inside his palm with 1 line of ancient radiance glowing. The first transformation cost nothing, almost as though the system had waited specifically for him. Qin selected the divine path without hesitation. Crude runes vanished from the token, and platinum markings spread across its surface. The system confirmed successful evolution, then automatically camouflaged every public detail. To outsiders, the item remained an ordinary F-rank MAID token. In Qin's hand, it had become a rare summoning artifact connected to forgotten divinity. He activated it before the frightened refugees in the collapsing hut. Platinum light opened across the dark soil like dawn cutting through a graveyard. A silver-haired young woman stepped from the radiance in a white gown untouched by the wasteland. She knelt and introduced herself as Elaine, a divine attendant apprentice awaiting his command. Her true panel showed rare rank, legendary potential, and for immediately valuable abilities. Basic healing could keep workers and soldiers alive after injuries. Purification could cleanse poison water, corrupted wounds, and minor curses. Sacred blessing could strengthen fighters and suppress their fear during battle. Order administration could measure morale and stabilize the population. Before panic destroyed everything, the supposedly decorative MAID was healer, priestess, steward, and strategic support combined. Qin checked her public profile and saw only an ordinary servant with basic attendant skills. That perfect disguise turned every insult in the regional channel into free protection. While rivals celebrated obvious power, Qin could build quietly behind an F-rank mask. His first priority was not revenge or glory, but keeping 10 frightened people alive. He ordered construction of the ordinary well, because thirst would kill a territory before any monster arrived. The platinum gold light faded away in front of the ramshackle hut. Elaine knelt upon the dark soil on one knee. Silver hair draped her shoulders, her white skirt shifting softly. Even stranded on this desolate wasteland, she looked like a beam of light piercing the darkness. All 10 refugees stood stunned. Moments earlier, they had feared their lord had drawn a worthless maid summon token. Yet this young woman bore no resemblance to any ordinary servant. Would an ordinary maid inspire instant calm in everyone around her? Would an ordinary maid cleanse the rot from the surrounding air? Would an ordinary maid radiate holy light? Qin Wang re-examined Elaine's panel, his heart stirring. Hero, Elaine. Rank rare. Class, Apprentice Divine Attendant. Level 1. Potential legendary skills. Basic healing, purification, sacred blessing, order administration, hidden notice. Traces of the Order Divine system detected. Insufficient access authority to retrieve further data. Legendary potential for active skills, plus an undecipherable hidden notice. If this qualified as an ordinary maid, then what were cavalry summon tokens? Nothing more than decorative set dressing for lordly gatherings. Qin Wang suppressed his excitement and checked her public display profile at once. Displayed unit. Ordinary maid, displayed rank. Ordinary, displayed skill, basic attendance, perfect. The camouflage from myriad radiance residue remained active. To every outsider, he was still the lord stuck with a great F-rank maid spawn. No one would guess a rare tier hero stood outside his crumbling hut. Qin Wang did not allow himself to celebrate prematurely. Spectacular as this turn of events was, survival necessities still awaited attention. Food to harvest, clean water to secure, palisades to build. The true challenge for newcomers was never shouting about good luck. After drawing powerful units, it lay in turning those units into resources that kept everyone alive. He turned to Elaine. You possess purification. Elaine bowed slightly, her tone soft yet resolute. I do. So long as contamination does not exceed my limits, I may purify water sources, infected wounds, and minor curses. Joy flashed across Qin Wang's face. The skill arrived perfectly. The ordinary well blueprint he had obtained would only grant access to groundwater. Water beneath the void was not guaranteed safe. If he dug up a contaminated well, his territory would still face annihilation. But with Elaine's purification art, an ordinary well became something entirely different. Qin Wang at once opened his construction panel. Blueprint. Ordinary well construction requirement. 20 timber, 30 stone, build time, 3 hours. Effect produces 50 units of clean water daily. Notice water quality may vary depending on terrain. Qin Wang glanced over his resources. Timber 100, stone 50. He had enough. With zero delay, he confirmed construction. On the empty ground to the right of the ramshackle wooden hut, light flickered, and a translucent outline of a well slowly materialized. The 10 refugees studied the phantom structure, hope igniting. Qin Wang pointed toward the pile of rubble and dead trees, split the able-bodied men into 2 teams. One group hauls stone, the other cuts dead wood. The elders and children stay near the hut to sort grain and clean water. No one is to approach the void mist. Several young men nodded hastily. As you command, Lord. The elderly man quickly led the teenage boys back beside the hut and began tallying the remaining food and water skins. Elaine stood quietly beside Qin Wang, watching the refugees set to work. She without warning spoke. My lord, they are terrified. Qin Wang shot her a look. You can sense that the order governance skill perceives territorial popular sentiment. Elaine answered quietly. Popular sentiment remains low for now, stemming mainly from fear, hunger, and unease toward this unknown land. If we secure clean water, morale will stabilize noticeably. Qin Wang's thought solidified. Elaine was far more than a simple healer and support. She could manage internal affairs, too. This was absurd. When others summoned an ordinary militia, all they got was someone to keep watch overnight. Summoning a mage granted strong early combat power, yet such a mage could rarely stabilize a territory. Elaine was in a league of her own. She could heal, purify, bestow blessings, and uphold order. How could she only be a maid? It was as if he had started. Gifted with a steward, a healer, and a cleric, Qin Wang opened a region chat. Chatter was still lively there. Anonymous. Does anyone have spare clean water? The pool on my land is undrinkable and my refugees are rioting. Anonymous. Don't even get me started. I drank wild water, and my panel says lightly poisoned. Lai Xiaoyang. I'm only now realizing how vital clean water truly is. Wang Tong Knights fight well, but even they need water. Who understands this pain? Anonymous. Seriously. Less than half an hour since arrival. And people are already breaking down over water. Qin Wang's eyes stirred as he read the messages. Clean water was indeed a hard currency. While others were still celebrating acquiring combat units, he had already identified his first resource chain. Once the well finished construction and passed through Elaine's purification, it became a bargaining chip. Timber, stone, grain, even low-grade equipment could all be exchanged for it. This was the start of a snowball effect, but it was too soon to act. The well was incomplete, daily output unconfirmed, and his identity must stay hidden. Qin Wang closed the channel. He turned back to Elaine. Once the well is built, purify the first batch of water. Elaine nodded. It shall be done. As she finished speaking, she without warning gazed at Qin Wang's palm, a look of daze crossing her face. Qin Wang noticed her reaction. What is it? Elaine said nothing for a moment before murmuring, My lord, inside the radiance that summoned me, there rested a shattered crown. Qin Wang's gaze sharpened. Radiance of all realms. That object should have been visible only to him. Yet Elaine had somehow sensed it. He did not admit it outright and simply asked, Do you recognize it? Elaine frowned faintly, as if struggling to recall a dream from long ages past. I do not know. But seeing it filled my heart with sorrow. It feels as though I guarded it an eternity ago. She lifted her head, her clear eyes fixed on Qin Wang. He said nothing. Beneath the gloomy sky before the dilapidated hut, the phantom well gradually turned solid. Far in the distance, the void mist churned silently. Deep inside his palm, the fragment grew warm. The next instant, a line of text visible only to him appeared. Divine Attendant Elaine has returned to her station. Lost sequence of the pantheon of all realms. Trace of order unlocked. Staring at the notification, an inexplicable chill crept over Qin Wang. Trace of order. The pantheon of all realms. These were things no ordinary lord's talent should reveal. He had originally thought he had only drawn a hidden evolution path. Now it seemed the secrets tied to Elaine ran far deeper than he imagined. Just then, a young man hauling stone in the distance let out a startled shout. Lord, we seem to have unearthed something beneath the well. Lord, we seem to have unearthed something beneath the well. At the cry, everyone before the hut halted their work. Qin Wang's eyes narrowed. He at once walked over with Elaine. Most of the phantom outline of the ordinary well had solidified. Several refugees clustered around the well pit, faces pale. The bottom revealed a corner of an off-white stone slab. The slab was ancient, crisscrossed with cracks carved all around with incomplete ruins. These markings were no ordinary ornamentation. They resembled archaic symbols buried beneath earth for countless years. Qin Wang crouched down and his palm warmed again. Notifications surfaced. Detected ruined Pantheon Foundation stone origin. Lost architectural remnant of the Pantheon of all realms current state. Dormant, corrupted, incomplete. Usable as special material for building evolution. Qin Wang's heart jolted. A Pantheon Foundation stone. Beneath his ramshackle hut lay relics belonging to the Pantheon. He instinctively glanced toward Elaine. Elaine stood at the well's edge, silver hair stirred by the wind, her expression distant. As if hearing a voice from far away, she whispered, This land was not always wasteland. Qin Wang asked, What do you remember? Elaine shook her head. Only vague images. White stairways. A burning temple. All light was extinguished. Qin Wang pressed no further. This was not the time to unravel mysteries. Inside the void ruins, the greatest danger rarely came from the unknown itself, but from the trouble the unknown might attract. He swept his gaze across the surrounding refugees. The young men still studied the slab, equal parts fearful and curious. Qin Wang spoke in a heavy tone. Not a word of this on the region chat, and no private gossip. The elder grasped the gravity first and bowed quickly. Rest assured, my lord, we saw nothing. The other refugees nodded in agreement. Qin Wang looked back down into the well pit. Extract the ruined Pantheon Foundation stone. Warning. Direct extraction may cause well construction failure. Warning. You may choose to preserve the foundation stone, subjecting the ordinary well to unknown effects. Qin Wang whereupon his brows. If he took the stone away, he would lose the steady, clean water he desperately needed right now. If he left it in place, the well might undergo a transformation. In the novice phase, nothing mattered more than water. What was more, he possessed Eilein's purification art. Even if the foundation stone carried corruption, it might still be contained. Qin Wang reached a swift decision. Preserve the foundation stone. Continue construction. Light flowed back into the well pit. The phantom of the ordinary wall trembled slightly. Stones automatically fused to form the well walls, while the off-white Pantheon Foundation stone sank deeper to rest at the bottom like an ancient heart reared inside the territory. Moments later, a notification popped up. Ordinary well construction completed. Affected by the ruined Pantheon foundation stone, the structure has undergone a minor mutation. Ordinary well corrupted ancient well. Daily water output 80 unit status. Mildly corrupted. Not safe for direct consumption. The refugees' faces fell instantly. Corrupted water. Does that mean we cannot drink it? We're already short on clean water. Panic threatened to spread. Yedin stepped forward at once. She raised her right hand. Soft pale golden light gathered in her palm and drifted down into the well mouth. Murky vapors slowly dispersed and faint water sounds echoed from below. Apprentice Divine Attendant. Elaine cast Purification Art Corruption level of the corrupted ancient well. Reduced current. Status safe to drink. Daily produce purified clean water 60 units. The refugees froze. The elderly man tremblingly accepted the first bowl of water, took a sip, and his eyes reined. It's pure, truly clean water. The other refugees grew stirred as well. On this barren wasteland, a source of pure water was worth more than any amount of comforting words. Watching their reaction, Qin Wang felt fully at ease. 60 units of purified clean water every day. This was not only the foundation for survival, it was trade capital. He reopened the region chat. Anonymous. Anyone selling water? My refugees' loyalty is dropping fast. Anonymous. I'll trade timber for clean water. We can negotiate rates. Lai Xiaoyang. I understand now. Starting out without water is pure torment. Wang Tong. My night summon talisman is powerful, but knights still need water. How is this fair? Anonymous. Does anyone own purification type items? Offering a high price. Qin Wang held off listing goods at once. Water was a resource and also intelligence. If he flooded the market right after building the well, anyone could deduce he controlled a stable water source. Everyone in the region still remembered his blueprint. Hasty moves would drag him back into the spotlight. He closed the channel and issued orders. Today's water first serves our own people. Hold off on selling any surplus. Eileen said quietly. My lord is prudent. Qin Wang gazed toward the void mist. Tongcom having suffered a setback once. One ought to learn caution. Right then, a new notification flashed on his panel. Ruined Pantheon Foundation stone detected inside territory bounds. Radiance of all realms may grant secondary transcendence to constructions. Target corrupted ancient well. Available evolution path. Sanctified purification well. View required materials. Qin Wang eyes flickered. The ordinary ancient well already supplied purified water fit for trade. What might he gain if he evolved it into a sanctified purification well? He was about to check the material list when a pinned announcement appeared in the region chat. Regional announcement. Resource leaderboard for newcomer zone 100,086. Opening soon. Basic resources including water, grain, timber, stone, and iron ore will be tallied. Top 100 entrants will receive extra novice phase rewards. Qin Wang read the notice, then glanced back at the ancient well freshly purified. The channel erupted. Those who had just been begging for water were in an uproar. A realization dawned on him. Others were still scrambling to find water. He was already weighing whether to climb the leaderboard, relying solely on his well. Anonymous resource leaderboard. I only have 80 timber left and 12 units of water. Anonymous. Can you believe it? I thought drawing combat troops guaranteed victory. And now my entire territory queues up for drinking water. Wang Tong. My knight unit scores highly. Yet I stand no chance on the resource board. Water drains far too quickly. Xiaochen. In the early phase. The resource board favors steady production, not stockpiled reserves. Lords who control water sources hold a massive advantage. Qin Wang's attention lingered on Zhao Chen's message. Xiao Xian possessed sharp judgment. If he had not already revealed the ordinary well blueprint, Zhao Chen might not have pinpointed water sources so quickly. Many sharp minds inhabited this region. Now more than ever, he must avoid rushing out to sell water. Qin Wang turned toward the ancient well and lowered his voice. Eileen. What is the maximum volume of water you can purify before nightfall? I lied briefly since the well's energy and replied softly. Without exhausting myself, roughly another 40 units. Qin Wang nodded. 60 units of daily production plus an additional 40 purified units, enough to sustain his people with a small surplus to test the market. Instead of rushing to post listings, he switched his trade identity to Anonymous and double-checked all territory settings to ensure no public traces remained. One who had endured losses understood the value of intelligence best. Shortly afterward, an unassuming listing quietly appeared on the trade channel. Anonymous selling 10 units purified clean water, wanted timber, stone, iron. Oregon highest offers prioritized. The next second, private message alerts exploded nonstop. Qin Wang watched the flood of rapidly rising offers and slowly curved his lips. The resources to kickstart his snowball were arriving. As soon as the listing went live, private message notifications bombarded Qin Wang. Anonymous partner, I'll take all 10 units of purified clean water, 100 timber deal. One lord claimed that I offer 80 stone plus 10 units of grain. One lord claimed that, great lord, can you advance me to units on credit? My refugee's loyalty is plummeting. I'm desperate. One lord claimed that, where did you get purified clean water? Do you own purification items? Will you sell that information? Qin Wang did not reply at once. He read through every message and quickly formed an assessment. Not every lord suffered a water shortage. The worst hit were those whose territories sat in swamps, wastelands, and rocky badlands. They might own combat units and solid talents. Yet without stable water, their territories would swiftly spiral into crisis. At this stage, clean water was supreme hard currency. Purified clean water was even more valuable. Ordinary clean water only quenched thirst. Purified clean water meant safety, stable popular sentiment, restored stamina, and even mitigation of minor corruption debuffs. Qin Wang ignored all lowball offers and kept only the trade bids, offering abundant resources. Eventually, he settled on one transaction. Trade successful. You lost 10 units purified clean water. You gained 120 timber, 80 stone, 20 iron ore. Seeing the resources credited, Qin Wang's eyes brightened. 10 units of water had fetched such a large stock of foundational materials. This was the premium created by information gaps and scarce resources. While others crumbled out of desperation over drinking water, he traded water to build walls, craft tools, and accelerate his next phase of expansion. It was not long before someone in the region chat spotted the completed trade record on the trade board. Anonymous. Whoa. Those 10 units of purified water got snapped up instantly. Anonymous. Who moved that fast? I was still debating raising my offer, and it was gone. Anonymous. 10 units of water for piles of timber and stone. The markup is outrageous. Anonymous. Outrageous. Try going without water. In 3 hours. You'll think the seller is a savior. Lai Xiaoyang. I admit I spoke hastily earlier. Does anyone else have water? I truly need some. Wang Tong. Wait a second. Aren't we competing as lords? Why is everyone fighting over water? Xiao Chen. This is normal. During the first 24 hours of the novice phase, clean water, timber, and basic combat units all command inflated prices. Whoever secures consistent production can trigger a snowball effect. Qin Wang's fingers paused upon reading Zhao Xian's analysis. This man was undeniably astute. Had Qin Wang not locked his territory permissions and concealed himself using radiance of all realms, might have connected the anonymous water seller to him. But circumstances had shifted. Everyone knew Qin Wang obtained the ordinary well blueprint. They also knew he acquired an ordinary MAID recruitment token with an initial F rank rating. To most onlookers, even if he built a well, he could only produce regular clean water. There was no way he would possess purified clean water this early. After all, who expected a random MAID to wield purification art? Qin Wang closed the channel and opened his construction panel. Now that resources were sufficient, he could erect basic defenses. Simple timber palisade construction requirement 100 timber 20 stone. Function boost outer territory defenses and reduce the chance of wild beast breaking in. Begin construction. Constructed. A translucent wooden fence gradually materialized around the hut. The refugees visibly relaxed at the sight. Though the palisade stood low and far from sturdy between the wasteland and the void mist, every barrier raised their odds of survival. Qin Wang issued further arrangements. The able-bodied continued gathering timber and stone. Elders sort grain beside the hut. Do not let children wander out of sight. Post a rotating guards by the well. Without my order, no one may draw water privately. The refugees acknowledged his commands promptly. The elder looked at Qin Wang with eyes far different from when they first arrived. When they descended into this world, they obeyed purely because of the rules. Now, genuine trust had begun to take root. Territory popular slight increase current popular sentiment. 4,000 to 149. Observing the notification, Qin Wang grew more certain. Territorial development relied on far more than troops and buildings. Water, order, and a sense of security could all translate into combat strength. Elaine walked to his side and said quietly, "My lord, once the palisade finishes, feelings of fear across the territory will subside. If everyone receives clean water tonight, popular sentiment should rise further." Qin Wang nodded. "Stabilize our own people first, then we consider trade." He turned back toward the ancient well. Corrupted ancient well current status safe to drink remaining purified clean water. 50 units influenced by the ruined Pantheon Foundation Stone. Eligible for secondary transcendence. Target evolution route sanctified purification well. Required materials 200 timber, 150 stone, 50 iron, or 1 magic crystal. He could gather the first 3 materials swiftly through trade. The real trouble lay with magic crystals. Qin Wang frowned. Magic crystals were usually obtained from monsters, special or veins, or bought at steep prices via the trade channel. The new player zone had only just opened, so very few people had gotten their hands on any. Even those who did might not be willing to sell. Yet, the allure of the purifying sacred well was too great. The ordinary ancient well already gave him an edge in resource rankings in the early game. If it evolved into a purifying sacred well, the output and quality of clear water would surely surge, and his snowballing progress would grow even more dramatic. As he pondered, a new message without warning popped up in the region chat. One lord claimed that someone killed a young black-scaled wolf and dropped magic crystal shards. Anonymous black-scaled wolves, aren't we under the 7-day protection period? How are monsters already spawning? Xiao Chen. The protection period only shields territory cores from direct annihilation by the tidal force. It doesn't mean the wilderness is completely safe. The teacher told us wandering monsters linger along the edge of the void mist. Wang Tong announced that my knights are ready to head out. Wait for my good news, brothers. Qin Wang eyes stirred at the words magic crystal shards. The purifying sacred well required magic crystals, and monsters capable of dropping magic crystals had already appeared along the void mist fringe. This meant staying behind wooden walls to farm resources could only sustain him temporarily. If he truly wanted to take off, he would have to venture outside sooner or later. Just then, a special trade offer without warning appeared in his private trade chat. Anonymous buyer, I have 1 magic crystal shard. I want 20 units of purified water in exchange. Qin Wang studied the message, his gaze growing somber. This magic crystal shard had appeared far too conveniently. Convenient enough to look like an opportunity, but also a test. Qin Wang did not confirm the trade right away. Instead, he opened the anonymous sender's profile. Reputation 0. Completed trade 0. Remarks. New lord. Information hidden. He narrowed his eyes. Someone who had just obtained a magic crystal shard would normally prioritize strengthening themselves, not trade it away for water at such a cost. This person was either foolish or had other motives lurking beneath. After a brief silence, Qin Wang sent a reply. Inspect the goods first. After Qin Wang sent those 3 words, the other party said nothing for more than 10 seconds. The trade channel remained bustling. Purified water had become one of the most sought after resources in the new zone. Some traded timber for it, others stone, and a few offered basic weapon blueprints, desperate to stabilize morale inside their territories. Yet the anonymous buyer with the magic crystal shards still gave no response. This only reinforced Qin Wang's suspicion. A regular new player on the brink of dehydration would have no patience for prolonged haggling. Their willingness to hold off on closing the deal pointed to 2 possibilities. Either the magic crystal shard was flawed or they hoped to use this trade to probe the water cellar. Moments later, a screenshot of an item popped up. Magic crystal shard. Quality common. Source, young black scala wolf. Uses, low-tier building enhancement. Low-tier equipment forging material for certain special evolutions. Remarks, contains faint mana. Can serve as a substitute material for complete magic crystals. Qin Wang's eyes shifted after reading it. Though it was not a full magic crystal, the line stating it can serve as a substitute material for complete magic crystals made it more than valuable enough. The purifying sacred well needed magic crystals. If shards could replace part of the required materials, he only needed to keep gathering them to evolve the ancient well into a true purifying sacred well. Still, he showed no eagerness. Anonymous seller, 1 shard is not worth 20 units of purified water. The reply came quickly. Anonymous buyer, not many people can get their hands on magic crystal shards right now. Qin Wang smiled. That much was true, but even fewer people possess purified water. Anonymous seller, then you can go find someone else to trade with. This time, the other party stayed silent even longer. Half a minute passed before a new message appeared. Anonymous buyer, 10 units of purified water, plus 50 timber. I can tell you where the young black-scaled wolf spawn. Qin Wang fingers paused. Location intelligence. That was worth more than the shard alone. The new zone had only just opened, and everyone feared the void mist. Yet resources, monsters, treasure chests, and ruins all lay along its edges. Whoever secured safe travel routes first would start snowballing ahead of everyone else. Qin Wang did not agree at once and asked, "What is the surrounding terrain? How many monsters are there?" The other party replied quickly this time. "Witherwood forest, rocky slope along the void mist fringe. At least 3 young black-scaled wolves. I killed one, and the other two retreated. There is also an abandoned small camp nearby. I didn't dare get close." Qin Wang narrowed his eyes. The ability to slay a young black-scaled wolf meant the buyer commanded combat units, but their failure to pursue the remaining wolves suggested limited strength. They might even be wounded. He pressed on. "What is inside the small camp?" Anonymous buyer. "I don't know. I was too far away. I only heard someone screaming for help. Sounded like a woman. Could also be injured refugees. I can't be certain." Qin Wang held off, replying. The novice zone of the void of 10,000 races held more than new lords and monsters. There were native refugees, wandering hunters, abandoned villages, remnants of slave caravans, and small factions driven to the mist edge. Some of these people were nothing but burdens. Others could turn out to be valuable talents if he rescued ordinary refugees. He could boost his population. If he saved hunters, blacksmiths, or healers, his territory would unlock new development paths early on. Battle veterans would be priceless. Qin Wang looked toward Eileen not far away. Elaine was powerful, but her strengths lay in healing, purification, blessings, and order administration. She was not a frontline assault hero. What his territory lacked most right now was a core combat unit who could take up arms and lead troops outward. Without one, he could only rely on militiamen and wooden walls for passive defense, capping the rate of resource growth forever. Qin Wang returned to the trade window. Anonymous seller. Magic crystal shard. Location of young black-scaled wolves and intelligence on the small camp in exchange for 10 units of purified water. The reply arrived instantly. Anonymous buyer. "You forgot the 50 timber I mentioned earlier." Anonymous seller. "That was your offer, not terms I accepted." The other party was clearly left speechless. Shortly after, a trade request popped up. Trade contents: 1 magic crystal shard, 1 simple map of the void mist fringe. Exchange for 10 units of purified water. Confirm. Qin Wang confirmed the trade. The purified water was deducted. The magic crystal shard entered his storage, and a simple map appeared on his interface. Witherwood forest, rocky slope, void mist fringe. An abandoned small camp was circled in red. Qin Wang studied the marker and quickly formed a judgment. He could not act recklessly now. The wooden walls were not fully reinforced. Refugees untrained. While Elaine could offer support, she could not hold off wolf packs alone. Charging blindly into the void mist would throw away all the advantages he had worked to build. Yet, he could not leave the camp unattended for long. If another lord found it first, its population, resources, and special talents would be seized. The struggle between lords was not just over mines and water. It was over people, especially in the early game: a combat-savvy hunter, a skilled blacksmith, a squad leader able to command militiamen. Any of them could carry a territory past its most dangerous phase. Qin Wang opened his territory panel. Trainable unit, basic militiamen. Training requirements: 1 wooden spear, 1 ration. Training time to hours for able-bodied refugees were eligible for training. If he trained the militiamen first and let Elaine cast sacred blessing on them, they might be able to scout. Qin Wang looked toward Elaine. "If we only venture along the edge of the void mist, how long can you sustain your power?" Elaine focused her senses for a moment before answering. "I can maintain sacred blessing onto militiamen if sustained combat can be avoided. I can also purify corruption wounds as they appear. But my lord, I advise against heading deep inside." Qin Wang nodded. "I have no intention of walking to my death." With that, he at once ordered to able-bodied men to craft wooden spears to prepare for militia training. Another message refreshed in the region chat. Lin Chinga, a reminder. Someone discovered a native refugee camp. Slave caravans may be active nearby. Do not approach rashly. Slave caravans. Qin Wang gaze turned cold. Screams for help. Abandoned small camp. Black mist fringe. These clues were slowly weaving together into a picture. Right then, the anonymous buyer sent another line in private trade. "If you really plan ahead for that camp, you should hurry, before I pulled back. I saw fire drawing near." Qin Wang gripped his wooden spear tightly as he read the words. It seemed the small camp on the void mist fringe held more than just resources. It would be the site of his first true contest. The moment the words, "a slave caravan," crossed his sight, he knew he could delay no longer. Qin Wang knew he could delay no longer in moving toward the abandoned camp on the void mist fringe. During the novice phase of the void of 10,000 races, resources mattered. Yet population was equally vital. Water, grain, timber, and stone allowed a territory to survive. But what truly defined its ceiling was always people. Fighters, smiths, scouts, farmers, even stewards capable of calming refugees. Any of them could turn a crude wooden shack into a budding territory. And there were cries for help coming from that camp. Qin Wang did not set out at once, charging blindly into the void mist, driven by emotion upon hearing a woman scream. Was not the conduct of a lord. It would only make him prey for monsters. A lord's duty was to minimize risks before claiming every possible gain. He reopened the training panel. Trainable unit, basic militia. Training requirements, 1 wooden spear, 1 ration. Training time, 2 hours. Training effect, gain basic spear proficiency, basic guard, minor constitution boost. Qin Wang selected 2 of them for able-bodied refugees. One was Chenshu, the other Jiaomu. Neither possessed towering physiques, yet their eyes remained steady. Fear of the void of 10,000 races had not broken them completely. You two will train as militiamen. Chenshu and Jiaomu froze briefly before nodding firmly. Yes, my lord. Crafting wooden spears was not complicated. Several refugees worked together and soon shaped rough spears. Rules of light descended upon them as they grasped the spears standing in the open clearing. Their movements gradually corrected and their panicked aura steadied. Qin Wang turned to Eileen. I leave the well in your care. Prioritize purified water for our own people. Only trade small surpluses and do not reveal our total output. Eileen nodded softly as you command. She stood beside the purified ancient well. Her white dress rippled and gentle sacred light drifted into the well, cleansing the formerly cold, murky vapors. Moments later, Eileen whispered quietly, My lord, you are unlike most other lords. Qin Wang looked toward her. In what way? You do not flaunt your power simply because you have me. You do not drain every ounce of value from the purified water. Nor did you rush recklessly toward the cries for help, ignoring the safety of your territory. Eileen met his gaze earnestly. You see yourself as a lord and you see them as living people. The instant the words fell, the fragment of the broken crown deep inside Qin Wang's palm grew faintly warm. An ancient indifferent notification surfaced. Detected core female unit Elaine has gained recognition of you. All-realm retinue system activated. Lord of all creation bears dominion over all powers, ruling the sequences of the heavens. Yet the throne cannot stand empty, and the divine court cannot lack servants. All core female units who acknowledge you, follow you, serve you, or pledge allegiance may be bound into the all-realm retinue system. Current bound servant Elaine. Current favorability 45. Relationship stage recognition. Servitude reward obtained, spirit +1, command +1, territory bonus. Rate of morale decline reduced by 5, purification effects boosted by 5. Notice when favorability reaches 60, Elaine's first exclusive evolution will unlock. Qin Wu's eye sharpened. Favorability, a servitude system. He understood at once this was far more than a simple emotional value. The residual radiance of all creation recognized not only strength, but bonds. Since Elaine acknowledged him as her lord and chose to serve him, the residual power wove her into the system. Her strength would in turn nourish Qin Wang and his territory. It resembled a game interface, yet its underlying logic belonged to a divine court. The Lord of all creation was never meant to sit alone upon the throne. He needed divine attendants, heroes, vassals, followers, core existences who would stand beside him. Elaine was only the first. In time, there might be huntresses, female knights, rival lords, alien chieftains, even native strong men cast aside by the old order. So long as they acknowledged him and joined his all-creation system, they would grant him attribute bonuses and advantages. They would grant him attribute bonuses, territorial advantages, troop enhancements, architectural bounds, and access to greater dominion in the future. Qin Wang opened his personal panel. Lord Qin Wang, Strength 6, Constitution 7, Agility 6, Spirit 910, Command 56. His stats had truly risen, though only 2 points. The meaning was profound. It meant every core female follower who wholeheartedly recognized him would strengthen both himself and his territory. A retinue was never only romance. It formed the foundation of a divine court. Qin Wang looked to Eileen and spoke solemnly. I will remember what you just said. Eileen froze, a faint blush tinting her fair cheeks. Elaine favorability +1. Current favorability 46. Qin Wang eyes twitched. The system was refreshingly straightforward. 2 hours later, Chenshu and Zhao Mumu finished their training. Basic military level 1 skills. Basic spear proficiency. Basic guard. Basic militia level 1 skills. Basic spear proficiency. Basic guard. Elaine raised her hands and cast sacred blessing over them, Soft white light descended, wrapping both militiamen in a faint glow. Sacred blessing activated. Minor strength boost. Minor constitution boost. Minor fear resistance boost. Chenshu tightened his grip on his wooden spear. Voice filled with amazement. My lord, I feel so much stronger. Mu swallowed hard. Is this the power of the divine maiden? Qin Wang gazed toward the void mist fringe. His party was still makeshift. To level 1 militiamen, 1 supportive divine maiden, plus himself, a fledgling lord. In the eyes of true powerhouses, this would barely count as a scouting party. But for his current stage, it was enough to venture along the mist edge. Before departing, Qin Wang placed 5 units of purified water into storage and instructed the elder to guard the territory. No one is to approach the void mist. No unauthorized water collection. Do not mention details of our territory in the region chat. The elder nodded quickly. Rest assured, my lord. Elaine stepped beside Qin Wang and whispered, My lord, I will serve you and I will protect you. Elaine favorability +1. Current favorability 47. Qin Wang looked toward her and smiled. You may protect me, then you may serve me. But walking beside me means you should not only stand behind me. Elaine lifted her gaze toward him. Qin Wang gripped his wooden spear and stared toward the void mist. I seek those who can march beside me all the way to the throne. Light flickered in Elaine's eyes. Elaine favorability +2. Current favorability 49. Qin Wang barely held back a chuckle. The steady rise of favorability was undeniably stirring. The 4 of them walked out past the wooden walls, drawing closer to the abandoned camp marked on the map. The stench of rock grew heavier the nearer they came to the void mist fringe. Scattered footprints littered the ground, wolf paw prints, drag marks left by humans, and drops of still damp blood. Qin Wang knelt to examine them, his expression turning cold. We are slightly late. The words had barely left his mouth when a suppressed female cry echoed from deep inside Witherwood Forest. It was followed by a rough male voice. Run. I'll break your legs if you try again. Qin Wang slowly rose to his feet. The abandoned camp lay straight ahead. Deep inside Witherwood Forest, the rough male voice faded, followed by another stifled groan from the woman. Qin Wang did not rush forward. He raised a hand, signaling Chenshu and Zhao Mu to halt. The newly trained basic militiamen clutched their wooden spears, faces visibly pale. Sacred blessing suppressed terror. Yet it could not turn ordinary refugees into seasoned veterans instantly. Qin Wang lowered his voice. Stay calm. First, we count their numbers. Standing beside him, Elaine's palm glowed faintly with white light, which she carefully restrained so the radiance would not spread. Qin Wang pushed aside dry branches and peered forward. A rundown camp stretched out not far away. Several collapsed tents lay amid scattered crates, tattered cloth, and broken arrows. 3 men armed with short blades surrounded an injured woman, leaning against a broken wooden stake, blood staining her shoulder. The woman held a short bow. Her ears were slightly sharper than a human's. Her black hair hung disheveled, her face pale. Yet she continued to stare coldly at the men surrounding her. Behind her stood the bound refugees, a child and a middle-aged woman. Qin Wang gazed turned icy members of the slave caravan, though the 3 men wore shabby clothing. Each bore an identical black iron token at their waist. Their movements differed from ordinary refugees. More importantly, they looked at the woman not as an enemy, but as merchandise. One of them let out a cold laugh. A half-elf huntress, and female at that. Shall fetch at least 3 magic crystals. When we sell her at Blackstone Camp. The woman gritted her teeth. Come any closer, and I will kill one of you first. The man let out a scornful laugh. You shot all your arrows. What will you use to kill us? Another man snapped impatiently. Quit talking nonsense. Tie her up quickly. The void mist is spreading. Once the wolf pack returns, none of us will get away. Qin Wang drew a quick conclusion upon hearing this. 3 enemies, judging by their gear. They were not regular soldiers, more like thugs from the outer retinue of a slave caravan. The half-elf huntress was wounded yet still capable of resistance. 2 refugees posed no immediate threat. Young black-scaled wolves might still be roaming nearby. They could not afford to delay. Qin Wang turned to Elaine. Can you restore that huntress enough mobility for a short time? Elaine said quietly. We are close enough so I can. But if I strike first, they will discover us. Let them find us. Qin Wang's gaze shifted to Chenshu and Mu. Don't charge into fast. You to hold the flanks. Your goal isn't to kill. Stop them from closing in on Elaine. Chenshu swallowed hard. Lord, are we really going to fight? Qin Wang shot him a glance. If we don't fight now, do you want to wait until they take these people away and come back for you? Chenshu said nothing at once. Mu tightened his grip on the wooden spear and whispered, We obey you, Lord. Qin Wang raised his wooden spear, lowering his voice to a murmur. 3-1 strike. Elaine raised her hand first. A soft beam of white light threaded through the dead branches. It landed on the half-elf huntress's shoulder. Lesser healing activated. The bleeding on the woman's shoulder stopped instantly, and a faint flush returned to her pale cheeks. She froze for a moment, then snapped her head toward where they hid. At the same instant, Qin Wang burst out from the deadwood. Sure left flank, Jiao Mu right flank. The two militiamen charged, thrusting wooden spears. Their movements were clumsy yet bolstered by blessing. Their speed far surpassed refugees. The three thugs had clearly not expected anyone else to be lurking nearby. Just as one of them spun around, the half-elf hunter snatched a broken arrow off the ground and drove it deep into his calf. Arc! A scream rent the air. Qin Wang seized the opening, slamming his spear against the man's wrist. The short dagger flew out of his grasp at once. Shun rushed forward, pressing his wooden spear against the man's chest and knocking him flat. The other two thugs pawed with alarm. A fledgling lord. You're courting death. Do you know who we serve? Qin Wang ignored their taunts entirely. Villains perish from too much talk, and lords perish from listening to empty threats. He pointed sharply. Elaine bestowed blessing on the huntress. White light descended once more. The half-elf huntress's eyes sharpened. Her previously weakened body felt noticeably lighter. She did not ask who Qin Wang was, nor why he saved her. She simply grabbed her short bow and another broken arrow from the ground. Whoosh! The broken arrow flew true, burying itself in one thug's shoulder. The man howled and stumbled backward. Jiao Mu swept his wooden spear wide in that window, though he failed to land a fatal blow. He forced the foe to stay back. Seeing the tide turn against them, the last thug turned to run. Qin Wang's eyes darkened. Don't let him escape. The half-elf huntress moved faster than him. She lunged forward with a snarl. A short dagger slid out from her sleeve, slicing open the man's ankle. He crashed to the ground and tried to scramble to his feet, but Qin Wang was already standing over him. The tip of his wooden spear pressed against the man's throat. A slave caravan. The man's face drained of color, yet he still spoke defiantly. If you dare harm us, Blackstone Camp will never let you. Qin Wang bore down slightly. The man's voice cut off abruptly, cold sweat bursting out across his forehead. I ask you, answer. If you hesitate, there will be no need to speak at all. Fear finally seized hold of him. Minutes later, Qin Wang pried the general situation out of the three captives. They indeed hailed from Blackstone Camp, forming an outer squad of a slave caravan tasked with capturing lone refugees, and those bearing special bloodlines along the edge of the void mist. This abandoned camp had once held more than a dozen prisoners. A group had already been transported away, leaving only the half-elf huntress and two refugees. 2. Exhausted to flee. The main caravan force was not here. They occupied a temporary outpost deeper inside the mist. After hearing their report, Qin Wang did not dispose of the three thugs at once. He turned toward the half-elf huntress. Your name? The woman watched him warily. Vera, special unit detected. Name, Vera. Identity, half-elf huntress. Rank elite level to skills precision shot track and trap setting current status wounded. Vigilant favorability 15 relationship stranger notice this unit possesses great value. For wilderness exploration and range combat, a flicker of interest crossed Qin Wang's face. Truly a capable combatant, not a goddess nor a saint, but for his fledgling territory, she was far more useful than those empty titles. Vera said coldly, You save me, hoping I will fight for you. Qin Wang met her gaze. You have two choices. First, leave on your own. Young black-scaled wolves roam outside and the slave caravan lurks deeper inside. Whether you survive will depend entirely on luck. Second, come back to my territory. I will provide clean water, healing, and temporary safety. You work for me, and once you repay the debt of your rescue, you are free to depart whenever you wish. Vera fell into stunned silence. She had expected this new lord to force her into servitude by virtue of saving her life. But Qin Wang did no such thing. He laid out the terms plainly. No charity, only a transaction. Vera studied him for several seconds before speaking. You do not act like a newly ascended lord. Qin Wang replied calmly. Thank you. I skipped most of the introductory lessons. Vera, favorability +5. Current favorability 20. Elaine stood nearby, glancing softly at Qin Wang. Elaine favorability +1. Qin Wang nearly lost his composure. Even that earned favor. He quickly refocused his thoughts. They could not linger in this camp. Qin Wang ordered Shinshur and Zhao Mu to untie the two refugees, then bind the three slave caravan thugs securely. Just then, a low wolf howl echoed from deep inside the deadwood forest. Vera's expression shifted. The young black-scaled wolves are back. Qin Wang looked toward the 3 bound thugs on the ground, then toward the distant void mist. How many? Vera gripped her short bow. Her voice was low. At least 2. The words had barely left her mouth when 2 pairs of eerie emerald eyes slowly lit up along the mist edge. Qin Wang lifted his wooden spear. His tone steady. Perfect timing. We are short of crystal shards, and they have delivered themselves to us. 2 pairs of eerie emerald eyes glowed along the fringe of the void mist. Rotten wind swept out from deep inside the deadwood forest, carrying a putrid stench. Chenshu and a lost color instantly. The thrill of defeating the 3 slave caravan thugs was completely erased by that wolf howl. These were no ordinary wild wolves. 2 young black-scaled wolves stepped out of the mist. They were as large as young calves, their backs covered in fine black scales. Their paws barely made a sound as they trod across dead leaves. Young black-scaled wolf level to health 160. 160. Skills bite pounce remarks common predators. Along the void mist borders their scales offer minor physical defense. Wu Zhang scanned the status panel. He quickly assessed the threat level was not high, yet they spelled serious trouble. For a fledgling lord, a single pounce would nearly kill an ordinary refugee. Even basic militiamen could not withstand more than a few direct strikes. Vera whispered, young black-scaled wolves move extremely fast. We cannot let them charge into our group. As she spoke, she strained to draw her bow. Though Elaine had stopped the bleeding on her shoulder, her stamina had not fully recovered. Only 2 usable arrows remained on her short bow. At best, she could hold 1 wolf at bay during the fight. Qin Wang remained calm. He surveyed his surroundings. Collapsed tents stood to the left, a broken wooden stake to the right. Behind them lay the 3 bound thugs and 2 refugees. And the void mist stretched out directly ahead. If they ran, the young black-scaled wolves would give chase. If they fought head-on, the militiamen risked death. The optimal plan was to let the wolves attack someone else first. Qin Wang's gaze settled on the 3 slave caravan thugs bound on the ground. They turned even paler than Chenshu and Zhao Mumu when they saw the young black-scaled wolves emerge. One of them stammered, "Save us, fledgling lord, spare us, and we will share intelligence." Qin Wang watched him calmly. "Just now, you swore Blackstone Camp would hunt me down, did you not?" The man's lips trembled, unable to utter reply. Qin Wang wasted no time. Shen Shurhamu dragged them forward. The 2 militiamen froze in surprise. Vera also shot Qin Wang a questioning look. Qin Wang spoke firmly. "Their bodies reek of blood. The young black-scaled wolves will target them first. We need time, not mercy." Panic erupted among the 3 thugs. "You cannot do this. We belong to Blackstone Camp. If you use us as bait, you are doomed." Qin Wang did not spare them a glance. "Keep shouting, and I will cut your ropes right now and let you run for your lives." The 3 said nothing at once, gritting their teeth. Chenshu and Mu stepped forward and dragged the thugs into the open ground ahead. As expected, the scent of blood drew the 2 young black-scaled wolves, who snarled and split apart. Qin Wang issued orders at once. "Elaine, cast blessing on Sure. Vera, aim for the left wolf's eye." Elaine raised her hand and white light washed over Chenshu. Divine blessing activated. Chenshu tightened his wooden spear. His body still shook, yet his gaze grew far more resolute. Vera wasted no words. Whoosh! An arrow sliced through the air, aimed straight for the left young black-scaled wolf's eye. The beast reacted with lightning speed, jerking its head aside. The arrow missed its mark, but grazed its cheek, tearing open a bloody gash. 18, stung by pain. The young black-scaled wolf howled and lunged toward Vera. This was exactly the opening Qin Wang waited for. Jiaomu blocked it. Zhe planted his feet and thrust his spear forward. The wooden shaft struck the wolf's shoulder, yet most of the force was absorbed by its black scales. 9. In the next heartbeat, the young black-scaled wolf swiped out with a claw. Mu stumbled backward. 3 bloody gashes torn across his chest. Zhao Mu suffers laceration. Elaine raised her hand instantly. Lesser healing activated. White light descended, slowing the flow of blood from his wounds. Zhao Mu's frame resolve steadied. "I can keep holding on." Vera's pupils constricted. She had seen fledgling lords and militiamen, but never had she met a new lord who brought a healer into battle. This was not only a small squad, it was the embryonic form of a low-scale legion. The other young black-scaled wolf had already pounced on the bait. The bound thug on the ground screamed in terror, thrashing wildly. Qin Wang ignored the cries. Seizing the moment when the wolf lowered its head to feed, he charged. He drove his spear toward the joints of its hind legs. Squatch. The wooden spear pierced the gap between its scales. 21. Weak point struck. Movement impaired. The young black-scaled wolf roared in agony, then spun to attack Qin Wang. Qin Wang had anticipated this. He stepped back half a pace and shouted, "Chenshu, hold the line." Bolstered by divine blessing, Chenshu rushed forward, stabbing his spear diagonally. He sought not to kill, only to block the wolf's charge. The young black-scaled wolf was forced to veer off. Vera loosed her second arrow in that instant. This time, the arrow buried itself cleanly in its left eye. 47 weak points struck. The young black-scaled wolf howled and rolled on the ground. Qin Wang seized the chance, lifting his wooden spear and stabbing downward with full force. Once, twice. On the third strike, a system notification popped up. You have slain a young black-scaled wolf. Experience gained. Obtain ×1 black-scaled wolf hide. Obtain ×1 crystal shard. A spark of joy lit Qin Wang's eyes. He had the crystal shard. There was no time to celebrate. However, the other young black-scaled wolf had tackled one of the slave caravan thugs to the ground, and the scent of fresh blood had fully awakened its bloodlust. Do not let it finish feeding, Qin Wang said coldly. A wounded wolf is easier to slay than a sated one. Vera looked toward him, a faint chill creeping into her heart. This fledgling lord was young, yet his strikes were steady and ruthless. He would not spare enemies out of misplaced kindness, nor would he send his own men to their deaths for pride. He factored every person, every resource, every fleeting opportunity into the battle plan. People like him tended to survive the longest. Elaine cast divine blessing once more, this time upon Zhao Mu. Chenshu and Zhao Mumu flanked the wolf, using their wooden spears to cut off its escape routes. Qin Wang circled to its rear, targeting the thinner scales covering its legs and underbelly. Vera picked up a headless broken arrow, wielding it as a short stiletto. The two militiamen held the beast at bay head-on. Qin Wang hunted for weak points. Elaine sustained their lives with healing. Vera delivered the finishing blows. This makeshift squad's coordination remained rough, yet clear roles had already formed. Minutes later, the second young black-scaled wolf collapsed lifelessly to the earth. You assisted in slaying a young black-scaled wolf. Experience gained. Obtain times to black-scaled wolf fangs. Obtain ×1 crystal shard. Qin Wang slowly exhaled. 2 crystal shards. He finally possessed the materials needed to purify the sacred well. Chenshu and Zhao Mu slumped onto the ground, gasping for breath, grinning with the thrill of surviving against all odds. They had lived and slain monsters to men who had only just become militiamen. This meant more than any rallying cry. Chenshu loyalty increased. Mu loyalty increased. Territory popularity slightly raised. Vera leaned against the wooden stake, watching him. Are you truly a newly ascended lord? Qin Wang stowed the crystal shards and replied flatly. Genuine article. The entire region mocked me when I first started. Vera said nothing for a moment before speaking. They mocked you too soon. Vera favorability +10. Current favorability 30. Relationship acquaintance. Additional basic information unlocked. A nearly imperceptible smile tugged at the corner of Qin Wang's mouth as he read the notification. Excellent. The skilled combatant was starting to waver. Right then, one of the surviving slave caravan thugs stammered out desperately, "Spare my life. I know where the caravan outpost is. They plan to transport all captives away tonight." Qin Wang looked down at him. How many men do they have? The thug trembled. More than a dozen guards to beast tamers, and a bronze-tier chieftain. Vera's face turned stark. Bronze-tier. Qin Wang tightened his grip on the crystal shard. Yet his gaze showed no trace of retreat. Deeper inside the void mist lay far bigger prey and many more prisoners. Bronze-tier. The color drained from Chenshu and Zhao Muma's faces just as they had begun to recover. They were only level 1 basic militiamen. Slaying the wolves had only been possible thanks to Elaine's healing, Vera's support, and Qin Wang's command, and the fight had filled them with terror. They could barely imagine what a bronze-tier chieftain meant. Inside the new Lord Zone, most common monsters and troops ranked below Iron Tier. A bronze-tier warrior counted as a minor boss. Even those starting with cavalry tokens would hesitate to engage a bronze-tier foe head-on, let alone guarantee victory. Vera looked equally troubled. If they truly have a bronze-tier chieftain, we cannot fight them openly. Qin Wang did not argue. He knew better than to march his small force straight into the main slave caravan contingent. He looked down at the captive thug. Tell me everything you know, clearly. The man's lips shook. His eyes kept darting toward the 2 dead young black-scaled wolves. The earlier battle had shattered his courage. We are only an outer capture squad. The main force is stationed near Blackstone Junction. They will transport all captives back to Blackstone Camp before nightfall. Qin Wang asked. How many prisoners have they seized? Over 20. Any combatants among them? A handful of hunters and guards, but all wounded and bound. What is the bronze-tier chieftain's name? Blue. Bronze-tier 1. He wields a heavy battle axe and possesses monstrous strength. The beast tamers stay by his side. They have 3 black-scaled wolves under their control. Vera's expression turned colder upon hearing the name. Qin Wang looked toward her. You know him. Vera ground her teeth. He led the raiding party that captured everyone from my camp. She clutched her short bow until her knuckles whitened, barely restraining the hatred burning in her eyes. Qin Wang did not let himself be swept up by her rage. If you charged over there now, could you kill him? Vera said nothing. Qin Wang continued. If you cannot, set aside your hatred for now. Keeping people alive matters more than fleeting satisfaction. Vera lifted her head. Her gaze burned with frustration, yet she offered no rebuttal. Vera favorability +3. Current favorability 33. Seeing the notification, Qin Wang grew more certain. This half-elf huntress was no lovesick fool. She bore grudges, thought rationally, and understood when to endure. She was exactly the kind of person worth recruiting for his territory. He turned back to the thug. When will they set out? Before dark. What route will they take? The thug hesitated. Qin Wang pressed his wooden spear downward. I will not ask a second time. The thug spoke at once. They will travel along the rocky ravine from Blackstone Junction, then past the outer edge of the Deadwood Forest. Monsters are scarce there, but the path is narrow, ideal for driving prisoner carts. A thought sparked in Qin Wu's mind. A narrow path. Prisoner carts found captives, beast tamers. The situation left room for maneuver. Just because they could not win a frontal battle did not mean they could not rescue the prisoners. The wise approach was to strip foes of their tactical advantages. Qin Wang quickly opened his map. Blackstone Junction lay far away. A rocky ravine ran between them, bordered by the Deadwood Forest. If they laid traps in advance, lured away the black-scaled wolves, and struck amid the chaos, rescuing the captives was far from impossible. But the prerequisite was that he possessed sufficient intelligence and preparations. Qin Wang turned to Vera. Can you set traps? Vera nodded. I can, but I need materials and time. Is it possible to only create chaos instead of killing anyone? Vera stared in surprise. You don't plan to rescue them directly? Qin Wang asked in return. Just the 4 of us charge in to save over 20 people, then get hunted down by a bronze-tier warrior. Vera said nothing for half a second. You're right, Qin Wang said. Our target isn't wiping out the entire caravan, only throwing them into disarray. Once chaos erupts, some captives will flee, some will slow the caravan down, and others will force the raiders to expose weaknesses. He paused and added one more sentence. What we lack right now isn't heroism. It's people, intelligence, and time. Elaine said quietly. My lord, you intend to rescue only a portion of them first. Save as many as we can. Qin Wang gazed toward the distant void mist. But we cannot risk throwing our own lives away. The thug on the ground listened, his heart pounding with terror. He had thought this new lord would either shrink back upon hearing of a bronze-tier opponent, or rush headlong into action fired up by the plight of the captives. But Qin Wang didn't either. He was calculating routes, risks, and gains. A man like this was far more terrifying than a mere brute with strength. Qin Wang quickly issued his arrangements. Generate a mu. Take the black-scaled wolf pelts and shards of magic crystals. Escort this captive back to the territory first. Chen Shu looked stunned. My lord, you aren't coming back. I'm heading with Elaine and Vera to have a look at the boulder ravine. We won't venture deep inside, Mu said anxiously. But you have a few men beside you. Qin Wang shook his head. A larger group would only draw attention. Once he returned, tell the elder to keep reinforcing the wooden palisades and reserve enough purified water. No one is permitted to leave the territory without my order. After speaking, he stowed the magic crystal fragments securely, then tied up the other 2 unconscious thugs tightly. Those who could be taken back for interrogation would be brought along. As for the rest, there was no point wasting energy guarding them here for the time being. Just as Qin Wang prepared to leave, Vera without warning spoke. I'm coming with you. Qin Wang shot her a glance. Your wounds haven't healed. Vera's voice was low. Some of the prisoners might be my clansmen. Then you must obey orders. Vera gritted her teeth and finally nodded. Vera favorability +2. Current favorability 35. Qin Wang said nothing more, leading Elaine and Vera toward Boulder Ravine. Along the way, drawing on her hunter's experience, Vera steered them clear of several zones teeming with monsters. She was truly valuable, especially at the edge of the void mist. Her tracking and danger evading skills far outmatched an ordinary militia. Before long, the 3 arrived outside Boulder Ravine. The terrain narrowed here. On both sides stood boulders, half the height of a man, with only a dirt path wide enough for a wooden cart winding through the middle. Wagon wheel ruts marked the ground alongside countless messy footprints. Vera squatted to examine the tracks for a moment, then whispered, "They will definitely pass this way. There are many of them, and they bring carts." As Qin Wang studied the narrow dirt trail, a plan rapidly took shape in his mind. There was no need for a head-on fight. All he needed was to block the path. If he could throw the slave caravan into chaos here, he could seize the greatest advantage at minimal cost. Right then, the rumble of wooden wheels grinding over gravel echoed from afar. Vera's expression shifted. "They're here." Qin Wang raised a hand, signaling the two women to hide behind the boulders. Shortly afterward, a procession emerged from the void mist. A dozen guards to beast tamers leading black-scaled wolves, one rickety wooden cart, and captives strung together by ropes. Qin Wang's gaze swept over the prisoners, finally settling beside the cart. There sat a young woman bound in iron chains. She wore tattered leather armor, a broken sword resting across her knees, even with her hands tied. Her spine remained straight and unbowed. Special female unit detected. Identity: fallen swordswoman, grade elite. Status: critically wounded, restrained, strong, will to resist. Current favorability 0. Notice this unit possesses potential as a melee hero. A glint flashed in Qin Wang's eyes. Perfect. He could not defeat a bronze-tier warrior, but he intended to take this woman for himself. Outside Boulder Ravine, Qin Wang hid behind the waist-high rock piles observing the slave caravan. A dozen guards to beast tamers, 3 black-scaled wolves, and the bronze-tier chieftain Baru. If he charged out openly, there would be only one outcome. They would all be slain. Qin Wang knew clearly he was not some invincible protagonist with a massive army at his back. All he had was one auxiliary divine attendant, one injured half-elf huntress, and a wooden spear. Picking a direct fight with a bronze-tier opponent with such forces was a battle even authors would not dare write. Therefore, his goal was to snatch people, not want to fight. Vera whispered. Baru is in the center of the formation with black-scaled wolves flanking front and rear. To rescue the captives, we must first throw them into chaos. Qin Wang nodded, his gaze sweeping both sides of Boulder Ravine. The path was narrow. The wooden cart could not turn easily. The rock piles on either side were loose. If several large stones were pushed down, they could block the trail. Black-scaled wolves possessed a sharp sense of smell. Yet, they could easily be distracted by the scent of blood and sudden shocks. He soon finalized his plan. Vera, move to the left. Once the cart comes inside range, shoot the beast tamers. You don't need to kill them, only force them to release their hold. Vera frowned. If the tamers panic, the black-scaled wolves might charge the captives. That is why Iron will unleash holy light on the opposite side. Qin Wang turned toward Elaine. No attacking. Just make it shine as convincing as a purification spell. The wolves provoked by holy light will charge toward you first. Retreat at once after casting it. Elaine nodded gently. I will follow your orders. Elaine favorability +1. Qin Wang's eyes twitched. This was hardly the moment for favorability to rise. Yet he could not deny that it felt satisfying to see. Vera watched him, her eyes flickering. You plan to use yourself as bait? Qin Wang shook his head. No. I will turn Boulder Ravine into a cage. He pointed to the middle stretch of the dirt road. Once the wolves and guards scatter to the sides, the cart will halt. I will seize that window to cut the captives free, prioritizing that swordswoman. Vera stared straight at him. Why save her first? Qin Wang answered plainly. She has combat value. Vera said nothing for a moment, then let out a faint laugh. You make no pretense of being a good man. There is no use pretending to be virtuous. Only making the right choices matters. Vera favorability +3. Current favorability 38. In the distance, the wooden cart had entered Boulder Ravine. Baru rode a black-maned beast. A heavy axe slung over his broad shoulders, a scar cut horizontally across his nose. He scanned the surroundings, clearly aware this stretch was ideal for ambushes. Hurry up. We must reach Blackstone Camp before nightfall. The guards drove the captives forward. The dragging iron chains scraped against the ground, emitting shrill scraping noises. Beside the cart, the fallen swordswoman lifted her head as if sensing something. Her gaze swept across the rock piles. Qin Wang stayed motionless. He waited until the cart reached the narrowest section of the ravine. 3-1 strike. Vera's arrow flew first. Whoosh. The arrow whistled past the boulders and buried itself cleanly in the front beast tamer's arm. The man screamed, releasing the chain, restraining his wolf. Almost at the same instant, Elaine raised her hand on the opposite side. A sphere of platinum holy light blazed to life. The 3 black-scaled wolves bristled instantly, growling and lunging toward the source of the light. Ambush. Chaos erupted among the guards. Baru roared, hold formation. Don't let the cart stop. Before he finished speaking, Qin Wang pushed loose a boulder, half as tall as a man. Boom! The stone crashed down in front of the cart. The gaunt draft horse, pulling it, neighed in terror. The wooden cart lurched violently and wedged itself firmly in the middle of the trail. The entire caravan was trapped. Qin Wang charged forward amid the confusion. He swept loose gravel beneath one guard's feet with his wooden spear, sending the men tumbling. He did not deliver a finishing blow, instead sprinting straight for the ropes binding the captives. If you want to live, stay quiet and run toward the rock piles on the left. Several captives froze briefly, then nodded frantically. Qin Wang sliced through the first length of rope, then raised toward the side of the cart. The fallen swordswoman looked up at him, her voice. "Who are you? A passing well-wisher?" The swordswoman said coldly, "You don't look like one." Qin Wang cut away the rope wrapped over her iron shackles, kicking the broken sword on the ground toward her. "Then think of me as someone come to steal people." The swordswoman caught the broken sword and her previously dull eyes brightened at once. Fallen swordswoman favorability +5. Current favorability 5 remarks. She acknowledges your honesty. Qin Wang nearly laughed out loud. This system was growing more and more unpredictable. But a second later, spotted him. "New Lord, you seek death." The heavy axe whistled through the air as it swung down. Qin Wang leapt backward at once. Bang! The axe blade slammed into the edge of the cart, sending splinters flying. This was the power of a bronze-tier warrior, even only bronze rank 1. His strength was far beyond what Qin Wang could withstand head-on for now. A lane white light enveloped Qin Wang. Holy blessing activated. Qin Wang's speed surged sharply. Using the cart for cover, he dodged Baru's second axe strike. In the distance, Vera loosed arrows repeatedly, forcing pursuing guards to retreat. Though severely wounded, the swordsman neatly severed the ropes, binding another captive beside her, her movements sharp and efficient. Baru flew into a rage. "Stop them. Do not let anyone escape." Yet Boulder Ravine had descended into total chaos. The black-scaled wolves had been lured behind the rock piles by the holy light. The startled horse and fleeing captives scattered the guards. The blocked cart sealed the road. For all his brute strength, Baru could not catch everyone at once. Qin Wang knew when to stop pushing his luck. After rescuing 7 or 8 captives, he shouted at once, "Retreat," but the swordsman glanced toward the rear. "There are still others we could save." Qin Wang looked back. More than a dozen guards remained there, and Baru was rapidly closing in. His tone turned cold. "If we turn back now, we will hand those we have rescued straight back to them." The swordswoman gritted her teeth, her eyes burning with unwillingness. Qin Wang fixed his gaze on her. "If you wish to save the rest, you must survive first, die here, and you won't even get the chance for vengeance." The swordswoman said nothing for a moment, then finally turned to flee. Fallen swordswoman favorability +10. Current favorability 15. Qin Wang led the group into the withered wood grove. Behind them, Baru's furious roar churned the void mist. "New Lord, I will remember your scent." Qin Wang did not glance back. Let him remember. He had memorized Baru's travel route as well. Once the group burst out of Boulder Ravine, a system notification finally popped up. "You have successfully rescued 7 refugees. Territory prestige +10. Special female unit detected. Fallen swordswoman. Name, Sia. Grade, elite. Class, apprentice swordswoman. Current status critically wounded, debilitated. Current favorability 15. Notice when favorability reaches 40. The unit may be incorporated into the all-realm retinue system to grant melee-type feedback bonuses." Qin Wang exhaled slowly as he read the notification. He had not defeated the bronze-tier warrior this time, but he had gained people, and obtained a sword that might one day become devastatingly sharp. Inside the withered wood grove, the group fled at full speed. The 7 rescued refugees stumbled as they ran. Some bore injuries. Others had raw chafed wrist from the ropes. After running some distance, several collapsed to their knees, unable to continue. Qin Wang did not push them further. If they kept running, half of them would collapse. He raised a hand to signal a halt, glancing back toward Boulder Ravine. The void mist swirled, and no pursuers had emerged yet. That did not mean they were safe. Baru was a bronze-tier warrior accompanied by black-scaled wolves and beast tamers. If he regrouped, pursuit was only a matter of time. Qin Wang turned to Elaine. "Tend to the wounded first. Those who can walk stand, pair up to support anyone who cannot." Elaine nodded, platinum light glowing in her palms. Soft holy light washed over the injured refugees, staunching their bleeding and dispelling the residual corruption. The refugees had been overcome with terror, but as the pain in their wounds faded, their expression swiftly changed. One refugee muttered quietly, "Holy light, is she a temple priestess?" Elaine offered no explanation, quietly continuing her healing work. Vera leaned against a tree, catching her breath. Going into this ambush, she had expected Qin Wang to suffer heavy losses. She had even steeled herself to stay behind and cover their retreat. Instead, he had not slain Baru, nor fought him head-on. By blocking the trail with boulders, diverting the wolves with holy light, and wounding the beast tamers, he had snatched 7 captives right out of the slave caravan's grasp. This was not mere luck. It required both boldness and icy calm. Vera favorability +3. Current favorability 41. Relationship stage acknowledgement notification. Core female unit Vera has developed acknowledgement toward you. All realm retinue system records the karmic bond. You receive feedback. Agility +1. Perception +1. Territory feedback. Wilderness exploration efficiency slightly increased. Qin Wang paused mid-step. She acknowledged him now. He opened his status panel and confirmed his agility and perception had each risen by 1 point. The bonuses were not spectacular yet extremely practical, especially with heightened perception. He could distinguish the rustle of wind and footsteps far more clearly. The true advantages of the all-realm retinue system were starting to reveal themselves. Vera frowned at him. "What are you smiling about?" Qin Wang smoothed his expression. "I just thought of something pleasant." Vera let out a cold huff. "Are all you new lords this odd?" Qin Wang looked toward her. "I am rather special. I skipped most of the lessons." Vera favorability +1. Qin Wang barely managed to hold back his laughter. This system certainly knew how to create dramatic moments. Right then, Sia, the fallen swordswoman sitting beside a tree stump, spoke without warning. "You could have saved more people back there." Her tone was cold, even weakened by severe wounds. An unyielding sharpness lingered in every word. Several refugees stiffened. Silence descended over the group. Vera frowned. "If you let him take that risk, none of us would have escaped." Sia looked straight at Qin Wang. "I know," Qin Wang said calmly. "Then why bring it up? I want to know whether you were afraid of dying or simply calculating every risk too thoroughly." It was not a kind remark. If Chen Shu and Zhao Mu had been present, they would have grown agitated instantly. Qin Wang only met her eyes, his tone steady. "Both I fear death, and I calculate carefully." Sia stared in surprise. Qin Wang continued, "I have only 1 auxiliary divine attendant, 1 injured huntress, and to barely trained militiamen. Opposing us are a bronze-tier chieftain, over a dozen guards, beast tamers, and black-scaled wolves. Against those odds, rescuing 7 people is already a victory. Hoping to save everyone is nothing but a fantasy." Sia tightened her grip on the broken sword, unwillingness smoldering in her eyes. Qin Wang looked at her. "If you want to rescue the remaining captives, you can. But first, you must stay alive, heal your wounds, recover your weapons, learn the enemy's route, and only then plan your revenge." He paused, his voice growing colder, charging forward, driven only by rage. "Will only let Baru sell 1 more valuable sword." Sia said nothing. She disliked hearing those words, yet she knew Qin Wang spoke the truth. Sia favorability +8, current favorability 23. Relationship stage. Initial acquaintance. Remarks. She disapproves of your cold rationality yet recognizes your judgment is sound. Qin Wang scanned the notification and understood the situation. Someone of Sia's temperament would not submit easily. But as long as she acknowledged his reasoning, opportunities would arise in the future. Having finished treating the wounded, Elaine answered quietly, "My lord, we must return to the territory without delay. If Baru sends the black-scaled wolves to track us by scent, they will follow our trail." Qin Wang nodded. "Vera, lead the way. Avoid taking the straight path back. You want to mislead the trackers?" "Exactly." Qin Wang turned toward the refugees. "Everyone take off your blood-stained outer garments and leave them on the boulder slope to the east. We will circle back from the south." One refugee hesitated. "But our clothes," Qin Wang said flatly. "Choose between your life and your clothes." The man said nothing at once. The group complied. Vera marched ahead, deliberately disturbing footprints and covering their true path with foliage. Qin Wang divided a small pouch of purified water among the wounded, allowing each only a single sip, enough to sustain strength. Zhao watched everything unfold and without warning asked, "Does your territory have a stable source of water?" Qin Wang shot her a glance. "Are you a captive or a guest?" Sia frowned. "What do you mean?" "If you are a captive, I will answer none of your questions. If you are a guest, once we return, I can offer you water and a place to recover from your wounds." Sia pondered briefly. "I am not a captive." Qin Wang nodded. "Then you may consider yourself our guest for now." Sia favorability +3. Current favorability 26. By the time the wooden palisades of the territory came into sight, daylight was fading. The elder walked out to greet them with the other refugees. When he saw Qin Wang return, bringing 7 new refugees alongside a huntress and swordswoman, he stood frozen in shock. "My lord, what has happened?" Qin Wang offered no lengthy explanation. "Arrange quarters for the wounded and tally the new arrivals. Keep reinforcing the palisades. No one may leave the territory tonight." He turned to gaze toward the void mist. A wolf's howl echoed faintly in the distance. Vera's expression darkened. "They are coming." Qin Wang watched calmly, then cracked a faint smile. "Perfect. We stole his people. He ought to learn that this land is not somewhere anyone can chase us down as they please." The next moment, a panel notification popped up. "New population 7 special units. Vera temporarily stationed at territory. Warning, Baru, leader of the slave caravan, is tracking your route. Estimated arrival inside 3 hours." Qin Wang studied the warning line and slowly tightened his wooden spear. 3 hours. It was enough time for him to turn the shabby wooden cabin into the first trap. At the sight of this alert, the relaxed atmosphere inside the territory instantly turned taut. Several newly rescued refugees paused, barely daring to breathe. Sia leaned against the wooden cabin, gripping her broken sword, uncontrollable fury burning in her eyes. Vera at once turned toward the void mist like a cheetah ready to draw its bow at any second. The elder's voice trembled. "Lord, a bronze tier leader. Can we hold them off?" Qin Wang did not answer at once. Right now, the wooden wall of the territory was only half built. He had only 2 militiamen. Vera was wounded, Sia severely injured, and Elaine served only as a support. A head-on battle was unwinnable. The Baru was not leading an army to lay siege. He came only in pursuit. Pursuers and siege troops were entirely different matters. Qin Wang glanced up at the sky and spoke calmly. 3 hours is enough. The elder blinked. Enough for what? Qin Wang looked toward the dilapidated cabin, the half-finished wooden wall, the purifying ancient well, and the pile of timber and stone he had just traded for on the ground. Enough to turn this place into a trap. He quickly opened the territory panel. Current resources: timber 180, stone 110, iron, or 20 magic crystal shards to constructible simple culture barriers, pit traps, alarm. Wooden bells, temporary arrow platforms. Wang did not hesitate, build culture barriers. Dig pit traps, scatter crushed stone outside the wooden wall, everyone move. The refugees had been gripped by fear, yet upon hearing clear orders, they found a pillar to lean on. Wang pointed to the open ground on the left. "Chen Shu, take for men to dig pits. They need not be deep, only enough to trip the wolves." He then gestured toward the gap in the wooden wall. "Elder, lead the others to sharpen stakes and build calibrate barriers. Appearance does not matter. They only need to pierce feet." He turned to Vera. "You know how to set traps. The area 20 paces outside the wooden wall is yours." Vera nodded, yet could not help asking, "You plan to lure Baru inside, not lure him inside?" Qin Wang said lightly. "Make him believe he is caught up to his prey." Vera froze for a second, then understood. The easiest mistake pursuers make is recklessness, especially a bronze tier leader like Baru. He had just had his spoils snatched by a fledgling lord, and rage simmered inside him. He would not observe patiently for long. All he would think of was charging in, capturing Qin Wang, and reasserting his authority. Anger was the perfect leash. Vera favorability +2. Current favorability 44. Relationship stage acknowledgement. Qin Wang skimmed the notification and wasted no time. This was no moment to check favorability values. Still, it was satisfying to gain affinity even while arranging defenses. Elaine walked to his side and said quietly, "My lord, what can I do?" Qin Wang nodded toward the purifying ancient well. "Restore your strength first, then prepare healing. Do not waste your skills tonight. Only tend to critically wounded personnel." Elaine nodded earnestly. Understood. She asked no questions. For this territory, every healing spell Elaine cast was a life-saving resource. If exhausted prematurely, there would be no reserve when the real fight began. Sia without warning spoke. "I can still fight." Qin Wang looked toward her. The fallen female swordsman was deathly pale, barely able to stand. Yet her gaze was as hard as tempered iron. "If you step into battle now, you will only hand Baru an easy kill." Sia frowned. Qin Wang gave her no chance to retort. "Your post is the cabin doorway. If anyone breaks through the traps and wooden wall, you draw your sword then." Sia studied him for several seconds before saying coldly, "I dislike being stationed in the rear." "What a coincidence," Qin Wang replied. "I dislike sending men to die on the front lines." Sia saw favorability +2. Current favorability 28. No, she still refuses to submit, yet acknowledges your battlefield judgment. Time trickled by. Outside the territory, the crude traps were swiftly completed. The culture barriers stood crookedly yet perfectly blocked the most viable charge route. The pit traps were shallow, lined with crushed stone and sharpened wooden stakes. Vera tore the black-scaled wolf pelts into strips, daubed them with blood, and hung them on several dead trees to the east. Qin Wang's expression brightened when he saw it. To mislead the black-scaled wolves, Verona nodded. Wolves follow the scent of blood first. If the beast tamers lose control, the beast will lunge toward the east. Excellent, Qin Wang said. He turned toward the bound thug from the slave caravan. The man's face drained of color, his voice shaking. What are you going to do? Qin Wang squatted down, his tone mild. I am offering you a chance to live. Fear surged through the thug. When Baru draws near, Qin Wang continued, shout that our defenses are weak, that I am injured, and the female swordsman is on her last legs. The more convincing you sound, the greater your chance of survival. The thug swallowed hard. What if I refuse? Qin Wang gestured toward the bloody pelts hanging from the eastern dead trees. Then you will hang alongside them. The effect should be even better. The thug nodded frantically. They'll shout, I swear I will. Beside them, Vera's mouth twitched faintly. Sia said nothing for a moment, then muttered, You are not a good man. Qin Wang stood. The villains say the same thing. Saw, favorability +1. Night fell deeper. Inside the wooden wall, the 7 refugees were settled behind the cabin. Elaine distributed small portions of purified fresh water to them, and popular sentiment was finally stabilized. New population stabilized. Territory popular sentiment. For 1956. Elaine favorability +1. Current favorability 50. Seeing the rise in popular sentiment, Qin Wang breathed out a shallow sigh of relief. 3 hours was neither long nor short. He had not built an impregnable fortress, but he had armed the shabby cabin with its first fangs. Just as the final pit trap was finished, low wolf howls echoed from the direction of the void mist. Moments later, heavy footsteps resounded from the edge of the wasteland. Vera climbed onto the temporary aero platform and whispered, They are here. Qin Wang moved behind the wooden wall and peered through a crack. Several figures slowly emerged from the void mist. To beast tamers led black-scaled wolves on leashes. More than a dozen guards gripped axes and blades. At the forefront strode a towering man, hefting a heavy battle axe. Baru, the bronze tier leader. He studied the crude wooden palisade and wore a savage grin. Fledgling lord, dare you steal my cargo? The bound thug at once followed Qin Wang orders and roared at the top of his lungs. Lord Baru, they have barely any men. That female swordsman is dying. Charge in and capture them. Murderous light flashed in Baru's eyes. Qin Wang stood hidden in the shadow of the wooden wall, the corners of his mouth lifting. Perfect. The prey had wandered into the den. Baru rested his heavy battle axe outside the wooden wall, his ferocious grin barely contained in his eyes. This territory was ridiculously weak. A ramshackle wooden fence, a few sharpened stakes, not even an arrow tower, let alone a proper siege, with a dozen guards and 2 black-scaled wolves. He could storm this ramshackle place in at most 15 minutes. Fledgling lord, come out on your own. Baru slammed his battle axe into the ground, sending cracks spreading. Surrender my goods and kneel to beg for mercy. I might spare you with only one hand cut off behind the wall. Qinshu and Zhao Mumu lost color. This was a bronze-tier powerhouse. Just standing there made it hard to breathe. Qin Wang remained calm. He did not reply, only glanced toward the bound thug. The captive shouted at once, Lord Bu. They cannot hold out. Only to militia men, 1 wounded woman, and a glowing maid. The Lord himself is paralyzed with fright. If anyone in the region had heard this, they would undoubtedly burst out laughing. A glowing maid sounded utterly absurd. Yet Baru believed every word. He had never thought a newly ascended lord could pose much of a threat, and rage still burned hot after his cargo was seized. Charging, the 2 beast tamers released their chains simultaneously. The 2 black-scaled wolves snarled and lunged toward the gap in the wooden wall. As they reached the eastern side, wind stirred the blood-soaked wolf pelts Vera had hung. A thick metallic scent flooded the air. The black-scaled wolves veered sharply, charging straight toward the dead trees. The next instant, the ground beneath them gave way to pit traps. Squat sharpened stakes pierced the wolves' bellies and forelegs. Black-scaled wolves triggered pit traps, inflicted bleeding, movement impaired. The beast tamers pulled danger traps. Only then did Qin Wang raise his hand. Vera, target the beast tamers. Vera already had her short bow fully drawn. Whoosh. An arrow cut through the air, burying itself in one tamer's shoulder. The man screamed and stumbled backward, dropping the leash entirely. The injured black-scaled wolf thrashed wildly, knocking over to nearby guards. Baru's expression darkened. Useless trash. He strode forward and swung his battle axe, cleaving straight through a row of cavalry barriers. Wood splinters flew everywhere. The power of a bronze-tier warrior could not be fully halted by crude traps. Chenshu subconsciously stepped back. Qin Wang murmured, "Fear is allowed, but stay disciplined." Elaine raised her palm, and platinum light washed over Chinner and Zhao Mumu. Blessing of the sacred activated. Fear resistance increased. The two militiamen steadied slightly. Baru reached the wooden wall and kicked hard. Boom. The palisade shook violently, nearly collapsing. Qin Wang had not ordered his men to block the main entrance. He had intentionally left the breach on the west side. Baru kicked a second time, tearing open a wide crack in the wall. He grinned and charged inside with several guards, but the moment he stepped through the gap, loose crushed stone slid beneath his feet. Baru only staggered slightly, yet the guards behind him lacked his stability. 3 men tumbled one after another. Cheers stabbed their legs. The 2 militiamen lay in ambush off to the side. At the command, they thrust their wooden spears toward the guards' calves. They could not wound Baru. Ordinary guards, however, could not withstand spears empowered by sacred blessing. Screams rang out as the guards collapsed. Qin Wang did not rush forward to finish them off. He shouted at once, "Fall back." Chenshu and Zhao Mumu retreated swiftly. Baru swept his battle axe, narrowly missing the 2 men. "Quick little rats," he roared, about to give chase when Ka without warning darted out from the cabin doorway. Her face was pale, yet her grip on the broken sword was astonishingly steady. Instead of aiming for Baru's chest, she thrust toward his wrist. Baru sneered and struck back with his axe to deflect the blow. Sia let out a muffled groan, staggering several paces, blood spilling from the corner of her mouth. Still, that single strike broke off Bear's pursuit. Qin Wuan's eyes sharpened. Why healing white light enveloped Sia? Basic healing activated. Sia gritted her teeth and stood firm looking at Qin Wang. "I am still alive, I see," Qin Wang said coolly. "Retreat to the doorway. Do not overexert yourself. See a favorability +3. Current favorability 31. Baru finally realized something was wrong. The shabby territory seemed weak. Yet every step forward dragged him into trouble. The wolves were trapped in pits. His guards were bottlenecked by terrain. The half-elf picked them off from shadow with arrows. The sacred maid kept healing the defenders. And this fledgling lord had never fought him head-on. He only guided Baru rage deeper into the traps. "Are you toying with me?" Murderous intent exploded in Baru's gaze. Qin Wang stood inside the wall shadow and said faintly, "You finally noticed? Not too late." Baru roared. Bronze tier aura erupted from his body as he trampled over the crushed stone and charged straight for Qin Wang. Right then, Qin Wang felt real pressure. If closed in at melee range, he could not block Baru. But this was exactly the moment he had waited for. When Baru separated himself from his guards, Vera from the shadows, Vera released her arrow. The shaft was not aimed at Baru, but the uninjured beast tamer behind him. Thud, the beast tamer crumpled to the ground, deprived of handlers. The wounded black-scaled wolves descended into complete frenzy and lunged at the nearest guards. The slave caravan's formation shattered entirely. Baru halted in his tracks, his face livid. He could keep chasing Qin Wang, yet most of his guards would be torn apart by the wolves. In that split second of hesitation, Qin Wang had retreated beside the wooden cabin. Elaine cupped her palms, summoning sacred radiance. Vera knocked another arrow. Sia leaned on her sword at the doorway. Chenshu and Zhao Mumu guarded the flanks. The formation remained fragile. But if Baru charged onward, victory would no longer be a one-sided massacre. He would pay a steep price. Void mist churned in the distance. The night grew darker. Baru stared fixedly at Qin Wang and ground out. "Retreat." The guards felt immense relief and dragged their wounded out of the territory. Qin Wang did not give chase. Never press a cornered foe, especially one led by a bronze-tier leader. He simply watched Baru depart and spoke calmly. "Next time you come, bring more men." Baru paused and glanced back with a chilling smirk. "Fledgling lord, you will regret this." Qin Wang offered no reply. It was only after the slave caravan vanished fully into the void mist that gasps and heavy breathing echoed throughout the territory. Successfully repelled slave caravan pursuers. Territory prestige +20. 2 guards killed for guards critically wounded. Loot acquired. 3 crude short blades. To damaged leather armors. 1 black-scaled wolf corpse. Territory popular sentiment increased. Vera favorability +4. Sia favorability +4. Elaine favorability +2. Qin Wang read the notifications and slowly exhaled. Had he won? Not truly. But they had defended their home. A bronze-tier leader had tasted defeat for the first time before this ramshackle cabin. Right then, a regional announcement without warning appeared. Defense leaderboard for Novice Zone. No. 1,086 unlocked. Current listed Lord Qin Wang. Battle evaluation. Defeated a strong foe with inferior forces, successfully repelled bronze tier pursuers. The region chat erupted instantly. Anonymous. Qin Wang. That Qin Wang who started with only a maid. Anonymous. Wait a second. How does anyone's maid fight a bronze tier warrior? Defense leaderboard for novice zone number 1086 unlocked. Current listed Lord Qin Wang battle evaluation defeated a strong foe with inferior forces, successfully repelled bronze tier pursuers. The instant the announcement went live, the region chat sizzled like oil hit by a bucket of water. Anonymous Qin Wang. Which Qin Wang? Anonymous. Who else? The one who used the ordinary maid summoning token with an F rank rating. Lai Xiaoyang. Hold on, didn't he start in a living zone? How did he land on the defense leaderboard all of a sudden? Wang Tong. I haven't even marched out with my cavalry summon token, and he's already repelled a bronze tier foe. Anonymous who has a maid capable of fighting bronze tiers. System explain this. Anonymous. I admit I laughed too hard earlier. Can I take it back? Qin Wang stood behind the wooden wall watching the channel flood with messages. His expression unchanged. Explain himself. That was impossible. The more absurd others found his situation, the better. Everyone knew he began with only a maid, and no one could fathom how he qualified for the leaderboard, as long as the disguise of the vast radiance remnant held. This confusion would serve as his finest camouflage. Smart people would suspect him, but suspicion and certainty were separated by a life or death gap. Qin Wang closed the channel and began tallying the spoils. Loot acquired 3 crude short blades. Loot acquired, to damaged leather armors. Obtained 1 black-scaled wolf corpse. Obtained 5 slave caravan iron identification tokens. Obtained 1 low-grade merit chest. His gaze lingered on the final reward. The defense leaderboard granted extra rewards. He chose not to open it at once, turning his attention to the territory instead. Baru had smashed open a section of the wooden wall. Half the culture barriers lay shattered and many pit traps were exposed. Chenshu and Zhao Mengmu bore wounds. Yet Elaine's healing ensured their lives were not in immediate danger. He had not truly defeated Baru in this battle, but he had defended his territory and gained prestige. Fortune Wang in his current position, that was enough. The elder led the refugees cautiously outside. They studied the wolf corpse and fallen guards. Residual terror still on their faces, but their gazes had completely shifted. When they first ascended into this world, they had been assigned to Qin Wang by the rules. Now they had witnessed this young lord use nothing but a shabby cabin to force a bronze tier leader into retreat. The feeling was akin to watching a crumbling shack spontaneously grow city walls. Territory popular sentiment increased. Current popular sentiment 5,664. Zhenshu loyalty increased. The loyalty increased. Qin Wang noted the alerts. Once popular sentiment surpassed 60, the territory was truly stabilized. When hearts were settled, people would willingly labor, keep watch, train, and obey orders in times of peril. Elaine walked to his side and said quietly, "My lord, all wounded have been treated. If no further fighting breaks out tonight, everyone will pull through." Qin Wang nodded. Well done, Elaine. Favorability +1. Current favorability 53. Beside them, Vera looked toward the pit traps on the ground, then back to Qin Wang and said abruptly, "I have met many fledgling lords. Some are brave, some greedy, some think themselves clever." Qin Wang asked, "Which am I?" Vera said nothing for a moment. "You are uncanny, Qin Wang." Vera favorability +2. Current favorability 47. Qin Wang could not help thinking that this favorability system did not always feel like a proper interface. It was more like a spectator watching everything unfold beside him. Sia leaned against the doorway of the wooden cabin. Her face was still pale, yet her gaze remained fixed on the direction Baru had retreated. "You didn't defeat him." Qin Wang looked toward her. "I know, but he didn't defeat you either." Sia tightened her grip on her broken sword, her voice low. "To make a bronze tier chieftain suffer losses. As a new lord, you are far less weak than I thought." Sia favorability +4. Current favorability 35. Note, she has begun to recognize your value on the battlefield. Staring at the notification, a faint smile tugged at the corner of Qin Wang's mouth. Favorability had not hit 40. She could not yet be incorporated into the all-realm retinue system. But she was close. Once this down and out swordswoman truly acknowledged him, the melee combat support she would bring would fill his biggest current weakness. Just then, a notification surfaced from the remnant radiance of myriad phenomena. Detected 3 core female units participating in the defensive battle. Synergy of the current vassalage system increased, converting temporary feedback. You gain command +1. Repair efficiency of territory defensive structures increased by 5. Qin Wang's eye sharpened. Synergy feedback. That meant the all-realm retinue system was far more complex than simply granting stat boost to individual units. When different core females fought side by side in a single battle, their abilities would trigger systemic synergistic effects. Elaine offered steady healing. Vera laid traps and loosed arrows. Sia held the gate to block pursuit. This was not only three women standing together. This was the embryonic foundation of his territory core retinue. Others competed by fielding troops. He competed with a complete system. Others relied on a single knight to charge into battle. Here, his maid could heal. His huntress could shoot and his swordswoman could hold choke points. Even a rundown wooden cabin could be transformed into a nest of traps. This was the true thrill of being a lord. Qin Wang opened the low merit chest. Open low merit chest. Open. Obtain wooden wall reinforcement token X1. Obtain basic crossbow bolt blueprint ×1. Obtain prestige +10. Qin Wang expression brightened instantly. The wooden wall reinforcement token would shore up his defensive flaws. The basic crossbow bolt blueprint meant ordinary refugees could wield long-range deterrents. These rewards could not have come at a better time. He used the token at once. A faint glow spread across the damaged wooden wall. Cracked planks locked back into place and the barrier grew even thicker than before. Simple wooden wall reinforced. Defense increased. Durability increased. The refugees murmured in stunned surprise. Messages kept flooding the region chat. Xiao Xian answered that a bronze tier pursuer does not equal defeating a bronze tier foe. There is no need for widespread panic. Qin Wang most likely repelled him by leveraging terrain and traps. Anonymous. Lord Xiao speaks rationally, but the question remains, how did he have traps and healing starting out with only one maid? Anonymous. Could it be that his maid is no ordinary servant? The channel said nothing for a moment after this message appeared. Qin Wang's gaze turned cold as he read the line. Finally, someone was starting to guess correctly. Yet another message popped up soon after. Anonymous. Impossible. The system publicly announced it was an ordinary maid recruitment token with an F rank rating. Anonymous. Then Baru must just be incompetent. Anonymous. Bronze tier unit. Thanks. I feel personally attacked. Qin Wang closed the channel. Suspicion had arisen, but there was no solid evidence for the time being. He needed to steer others toward wrong conclusions. Ideally, everyone would believe he had won through traps, luck, terrain, and the slaver caravan's overconfidence, not iron. Right then, a private message alert flashed. The sender was not anonymous. Xiao. Qin Wang. Congratulations on making the leaderboard. Qin Wang narrowed his eyes. Here it came, just as he expected. The next message followed at once. Xiao Xian answered that I am quite interested in your ordinary maid. Qin Wang Shang's eyes narrowed further as he studied the private message. It had arrived faster than he anticipated. Most people in the region channel were still reeling, debating how someone starting with an F-rank maid could earn a spot on the defensive achievement leaderboard. Meanwhile, Xiaoyan had cut through the commotion and set his sights straight on iron. This man was no fool. The leaderboard entry described the feat as defeating a stronger foe to successfully repel bronze-tier pursuers. Yet, according to Qin Wang public information, all he possessed were an ordinary water well blueprint and an ordinary maid recruitment token. Trails could be explained away. Terrain could be explained away. Maru's recklessness could be explained away. But healing protective blessings stabilized popular morale. Once whispers spread about these abilities, suspicion would inevitably fall on the maid. Qin Wang did not reply at once. The quicker one rushed to defend themselves, the guiltier they appeared. He first instructed the elder to lead the refugees in continuing wall repairs, then handed the basic crossbow bolt blueprint to Vera for study. Though Vera was no craftsman, she understood the mechanics of bows and crossbows and could judge whether the weapons could be crafted anytime soon. Sia leaned against the cabin door, pale-faced, clutching her broken sword. Her gaze drifted occasionally toward the shroud of void mist. Elaine stood beside the ancient well, dust stained her white dress. Yet she still looked far too pristine for someone belonging to this wasteland. Pulling his gaze away, Qin Wang finally replied to Xiao Xian. Qin Wang replied that what is there to interest you in an ordinary maid? Are you hoping for a cup of tea, too? A reply came quickly. Xiao Xian answered that an ordinary maid could never enable an F-rank territory to repel bronze-tier pursuers. Qin Wang smiled. The man spoke plainly. Xiao Xian was not here for idle chatter. He was probing for information. Qin Wang. Repelling bronze-tier pursuers is not the same as slaying them, the leaderboard clearly states. Repelled Xiao Xian. To achieve repulsion is already extraordinary. Qin Wang. The enemy underestimated us. The terrain favored us, and captives provided intelligence. You could have pulled it off too if you were in my position. Xiao Xian answered that, do you truly expect me to believe that? Qin Wang. Whether you believe it matters little. The leaderboard accepts the result. The other side said nothing for several seconds. Qin Wang could picture the expression on Zhao Qin's face. The trouble with men like him was that they could not be fooled with a few casual words, yet would not rush to break ties solely based on suspicion. He would keep testing. Sure enough, a new message appeared. Xiao Xian answered that I will trade 1 flame rune for the full stat panel of your maid. Qin Wang eyes stirred. A flame rune extremely valuable in the early stages. It could empower crossbow bolts and traps, even craft simple incendiary devices. Xiao Xian was offering a generous price. Yet, this only proved his suspicions about iron were deepening. Qin Wang turned the offer down outright. Qin Wang replied that not for sale. Xiao Xian, I can raise the offer. Qin Wang replied that it is not a matter of price. Xiao Xian answered that then, what is the obstacle? Qin Wang replied that I fear her favorability will drop if she learns I traded her information. A long silence followed on Xiao Xian's end. Xiao Xian answered that you have quite a sense of humor. Qin Wang read the message with a calm expression. Humor? No, her favorability really would drop. Elaine's favorability stood at 53. She was close to unlocking her first exclusive evolution at 60. Trading her stat panel for a rune. Only someone whose wits had been gnawed away by black-scaled wolves would do such a thing. Right then, Elaine without warning lifted her head and looked toward Qin Wang. Lord, is someone investigating me? Qin Wang did not hide the truth. Xiao Xian answered that he started as a rare flame mage. One of the shrewder lords in this region. Elaine nodded gently. I shall conceal my power and avoid bringing trouble to you, my lord. Elaine favorability +1. Current favorability 54. Qin Wang mood brightened instantly. The pressure from Xiao Qian had unexpectedly boosted her favorability. What should he call this? An enemy unwittingly aiding his cause. He returned to the private message thread. Xiao Xian answered that if you refuse to sell the maid's S panel, let us strike a different bargain. Why was Baru chasing you? Qin Wang gaze turned cold. Xiao Xian had finally cut to the core question. Intelligence on Baru, the slaver caravan, and Blackstone camp could be turned to profit if handled correctly. Mishandled, it would drag him out into the open. After brief thought, Qin Wang sent edited intelligence. Qin Wang replied that there is an abandoned camp on the edge of the void mist. A slaver caravan captures local refugees. I intercepted a group of captives and Baru came after me. Xiaochen, a slaver caravan, Qin Wang. Yes, led by a bronze tier chieftain with over a dozen guards, beast tamers, and black-scaled wolves. Do not provoke them lightly during the new lord phase. The information was not false, but it was incomplete. He omitted any mention of Vera, the route he had ambushed them on, and the spoils he had seized. Xiao Xian replied shortly after. Xiaochen, you would warn me for free. Qin Wang replied that if I do not warn you, you might stumble into Baru and lead him toward more new lord's territories. The trouble will only grow worse. Xiao Xian answered that you carry yourself like a proper lord. Qin Wang replied that thank you. I am still learning. Silence descended once more. Moments later, a trade request arrived. Xiao Xian trade, 1 flame rune in exchange for Baru. Detailed movement route, and 1 slaver caravan iron token. Qin Wang's expression brightened upon seeing the request. The man wanted the iron token, meaning he likely possessed a method to identify hostile factions or trigger regional records. Yet, the flame rune would also be immensely useful to Qin Wang right now. He held 5 slaver caravan identity tokens. Selling 1 would not hurt. What was more, handing a token to Xiao Xian would split the caravan's focus away from himself. When it came to enemies, they ought not fixate their wrath on him alone. Qin Wang confirmed the trade. You lost slaver caravan identity token X1. You obtained flame rune X1. The next line arrived from Xiao Xian. Qin Wang replied that you do not act like an infograde lord. Qin Wang replied swiftly. Qin Wang, perhaps the system's grading system does not understand the worth of a maid. Xiao Xian sent no further replies. Qin Wang closed the private message window and handed the flame rune to Vera. Can this be applied to crossbow bolts? Vera took the rune, her eyes shining. It can, though only 3 incendiary bolts can be crafted. 3 will suffice. Qin Wang looked toward the void mist. Baru had retreated. Yet Blackstone camp would not let the matter rest. And after obtaining the iron token, Zhao Xin would certainly investigate the slaver caravan. Only when waters are muddy do opportunities multiply. Just then, a new notification popped up on his panel. Regional event triggered. Event name, Blackstone Slaver Caravan. Event description, a slaver caravan operating along the Void Mist Fringe captures refugees, and those bearing special bloodlines. This faction poses a threat to surrounding new lord territories. Currently recorded Lords Qin Wang Xiao's Yan event consequence. If left unrest, the Blackstone Caravan will continue raiding nearby territories to seize population and resources. A slow smile spread across Qin Wang's face as he read the notification. Perfect. What had once been his personal trouble was now forcibly turned into an unavoidable regional crisis tied to the Void Mist. The region chat erupted with messages soon after. One lord claimed that what is going on? What is this Blackstone slaver caravan? Wang Tong. Anyone can tell they mean harm just from the name. Xiaoxian. The Blackstone slaver caravan is a local faction active along the Void Mist fringe. They hunt refugees and those with special bloodlines. Lords without combat units should stay far away. The channel fell quiet for several seconds after Xiaoxian spoke. Qin Wang's eyes stirred. This man knew well how to capitalize on momentum. No sooner had he received the Elaine token than he leaked intelligence to build an image as someone with exclusive information. It would make it easier for him to recruit weaker lords and negotiate temporary alliances. Later, Qin Wang opened a regional event panel. Known hostiles, slaver guards, beast tamers, black-scaled wolves, bronze-tier chieftain Baru, event rewards, prestige, population, magic crystals, weapons, blueprints. His gaze lingered on population and blueprints, and his mind raced. This was not only a crisis, it was a source of resources. The Blackstone Caravan held captured refugees and talented individuals. Victory would grant new settlers, troops, and spoils. Defeat would turn other lords' territories into scenes of tragedy. The problem was that a direct confrontation was impossible right now. He had repelled Baru thanks to home advantage, traps, healing, Vera's preparations. Sia holding the choke point and Baru overconfidence. A head-on clash at Blackstone Pass would exhaust his limited forces completely, therefore. Others needed to test the waters first, preferably Xiaoxian. Qin Wang opened the private chat again. Qin Wang replied that you have seen the event panel. Xiaoxian answered that I have the token you sold me triggered the regional record. Qin Wang replied that congratulations. Now the Blackstone Caravan has marked you as a target too. Xiaoxian answered that you call this congratulations. Qin Wang replied that it is a regional event. Everyone shares the stakes. Xiaoxian answered that you are even better at dragging others into trouble than I imagined. Qin Wang replied that this is shared risk. Xiaoxian answered that how much more intelligence do you hold? Qin Wang sent over edited route information. The map marked Blackstone Pass, Rocky Gully, and Deadwood Forest, but omitted his own territory and the abandoned small camp. Qin Wang Baru is most likely retreated to Blackstone Pass. The path there is narrow. Ideal for ambushes, yet also easy to be ambushed. If you intend to go, avoid bringing too many men. Xiaoxian answered that why Qin Wang? Black-scaled wolves can large groups. Xiaoxian answered that where did you obtain this intelligence? Qin Wang glanced toward Vera, who was repairing crossbow components. This half-elf huntress's experience inside the Void Mist was worth more than any map. Qin Wang. I skipped many lectures, so I prefer learning from real combat. Shortly after, a trade notification appeared. Xiaoxian requests trade to units of fire oil. In exchange for borrowed combat traits, Qin Wang's expression brightened. Fire oil combined with the flame rune and crossbow bolts, he could craft simple incendiary traps, exactly making up for his territory lack of burst damage. Qin Wang sent over the intelligence at once. Baru, bronze, rank 1, wields a heavy battle axe. Great strength, average speed, quick to anger, and prone to pursuit, yet possesses sharp battle intuition. Do not meet his axe head-on, and never allow him to reach the territory core. Trade completed. You obtained fire oil times 2 units. Qin Wang handed the fire oil to Vera. Can traps be built with this? Vera sniffed the oil. 3 incendiary traps can be laid, paired with incendiary crossbow bolts. They can drive back black-scaled wolves and block pathways. 3 is excessive. Build to first. Keep 1 unit in reserve. Vera shot him a glance. Are you counting Xiaoxian into your plans as well? Qin Wang replied calmly. He uses the Blackstone event to earn prestige, and I use him to draw the caravan's attention. We each rely on our own wits. There is no dishonor in it. Vera favorability +2. Current favorability 54. Sia leaned against the cabin door and spoke quietly. Men like you would earn the hatred of nobles inside the mainland city-states. Qin Wang asked why. Because you refuse to be a pawn. Qin Wang smiled. Then they will simply have to grow accustomed to it. Sia favorability +2. Current favorability 40. Relationship stage recognition detected that core female unit Sia has gained recognition of you. All-realm retinue system records her fate thread. You receive feedback. Strength +1. Constitution +1. Territory feedback. melee unit training efficiency slightly increased. Qin Wang pulse quickened. Sia had finally reached 40 favorability. Warmth surged deep inside his body. Elaine granted stability and recovery. Vera granted agility and perception. Sia filled the gaps in strength and constitution, healing, scouting, melee combat. His core retinue was finally taking shape. Right then, new messages rolled out in the channel. Long Tong announced that I plan to scout the outer perimeter of Blackstone Pass. Anyone coming along? Xiao Xian answered that I will explore the outskirts first. Ordinary lords are advised not to follow. Qin Wang knew Xiao Xian was ready to move. He closed the channel and turned to Vera. We prepare as well. Vera frowned. Head for Blackstone Pass now. No. Qin Wang pointed to a pale golden marker deep inside Deadwood Forest on the map. Xiao Xian will test the Blackstone caravan strength. We go to the ancient elven outpost. Vera lifted her head abruptly. How do you know an ancient elven outpost is there? Qin Wang naturally did not know, but the remnant radiance of myriad phenomena did. Detected fate thread fluctuations from half-elf huntress Vera. Related ruins detected nearby ruined ancient elven outpost. Potential rewards. Ranger training guidelines. Archer blueprints. Increase Vera favorability. Qin Wang met Vera's shocked gaze. His tone steady. Are you not searching for clues about your kin? Vera tightened her grip on her short bow, her breathing growing unsteady. Vera favorability +5. Current favorability 59. Notice upon reaching 60 favorability, Vera's exclusive evolution questline will unlock. Qin Wu's eyes brightened. So close. Xiao Xian would openly probe the Blackstone caravan. He would secretly build up his archer and hunter infrastructure. One draws enemy fire. The other grows stronger unseen. This was what lordly rivalry truly entailed. Qin Wang did not order an immediate departure. First, he told Elaine to check everyone's physical condition, then instructed the elder to mark the positions of the incendiary traps on the territory sketch. Growing in secret was not recklessly charging forth to seize loot, roots, retreat pods, decoys, backup support. Nothing could be overlooked. The strip to the ancient elven outpost held Vera's hope. Yet, it might also harbor watchers left behind by the Blackstone caravan, watching him range every detail methodically. Vera's initial anxious breathing steadied. She clutched her short bow. For the first time, she believed that following a lord such as this meant she would not be treated as a disposable pawn. Moments later, the incendiary traps behind the wooden wall were concealed once more. Elaine dismissed the last wisp of holy light. Vera took the lead, guiding Qin Wang and the others as they stepped back into Deadwood Forest. Vera walked at the forefront, short bow in hand, her footsteps so light they barely made a sound. Deep inside the withered woods, the silence exceeded Qin Wang's expectations. It was not devoid of sound. Rather, every noise seemed weighed down by the void mist. The faint crack of snapping dead branches, eerie cawing akin to ravens in the distance, and wind whistling through tree trunks carried a stench of decay. There was a clear shift in her demeanor. She had been wary of Qin Wang before, distrustful of the new lord. Yet the moment Qin Wang uttered the words, the ancient elven outpost, her entire aura transformed. Tense, urgent, with a trace of barely concealed anticipation. Qin Wang studied her back and did not press her. Favorability 59, so close. But this final sliver could not be gained through empty words. He had to make her truly believe that following him, she would find what she sought. Yellen walked beside Qin Wang and said quietly, "My lord, the tank grows stronger ahead." Qin Wang nodded. "Vera, slow your pace." Vera shot him a glance. She said nothing, yet her steps slackened at once. Vera favorability +1. Current favorability 60. Relationship status trust. The all-encompassing vassal system has recorded Vera's destiny thread. You receive a feedback bonus. Agility +1. Perception +1. Territory feedback, slight increase. An archer unit hit rate. Improved wilderness exploration efficiency. Notice Vera's exclusive evolution quest line has been unlocked. A thought stirred in Qin Wang's mind. It had finally arrived. Almost at the same instant, Vera halted before a tangle of withered vines. She reached out and brushed them aside, revealing half a collapsed stone wall behind. Carved onto the stone were incomplete leaf patterns inside, which lingered a faint dull green glow like embers on the verge of fading. Vera's breath caught. "This is the mark of the Moon Forest outpost." Her voice was quiet yet visibly trembling. Qin Wang refrained from asking further questions and turned to his status panel instead. Discovered ruined ancient elven outpost. Status: abandoned, corrupted, fragmented. Remains: ranger training carvings, broken bow racks, Moon Forest emblem. Note is available for exploration. Vera stepped into the outpost ruins. The space was small. It held only a half-collapsed wooden tower, rows of rotting bow racks, and a training ground eroded by void mist. Broken arrows and splintered bones littered the ground, clear evidence that a battle had once raged here. Vera knelt and picked up a cracked wooden plaque. A name was etched into its surface. She studied it for a long time, the corners of her eyes growing faintly red. "This is my uncle's ranger plaque." Qin Wang said nothing for a moment. "Are there any survivors left here?" Vera shook her head, her voice. "No, not in this place, at least." She lifted her gaze toward the void mist deeper in the woods, and her expression turned cold once more. "But after the outpost fell, those who survived may have been captured." Qin Wang at once thought of the Blackstone slave caravan. Everything fell into place. The Blackstone caravan hunting bearers of special bloodlines. The disappearance of the half-elf ranger camp. The destruction of the ancient elven outpost. This trail was about far more than simply rescuing captives. It concerned Vera's kin and would determine whether Qin Wang could establish an archer hunting system in the future. Just then, Elaine issued a sudden warning. "Something is approaching." Vera drew her bow in the very next heartbeat. From behind the deadwood tower stepped a black-scaled wolf covered in rot patches. It was skinnier than the two young wolves they had encountered earlier, yet its eyes glowed sickly gray-green and half the snapped iron chain hung around its neck. Corrupted black-scaled wolf. Level 3 health 210, 210. Status corrupted starving. Note suspected to have mutated from corruption after being abandoned by a beast tamer. Qin Wang gaze darkened. Level 3. Far stronger than the juvenile black-scaled wolves they had faced before. A head-on clash would be unwise. He lowered his voice. "Vera, can we use the outpost terrain?" Vera looked toward the collapsed wooden tower, then the broken bow racks beside the training ground. Her mind settled swiftly. "I can." Without further explanation, she knocked an arrow and loosed it at a rotting rope beside the tower. Crack. The rope snapped and half a wooden frame crashed down with a thunderous boom. Startled, the corrupted black-scaled wolf dodged sideways, stepping straight into a sunken mud pit at the edge of the training ground. Qin Wang's expression brightened. This was the skill of a seasoned hunter. He barely needed to speak, and Vera already knew how to utilize the ruins. Elaine suppressed the corruption. A wash of white light descended. It was not an attack, yet it briefly stalled the gray-green mist whirling around the wolf's body. Seizing the opening, Vera fired her second arrow, driving it cleanly into the gap between the scales on the wolf's fork. 36. Movement impaired. Qin Wang advanced with his wooden spear. He did not overextend, striking only at the hind leg the moment the wolf missed its pounce. 18. The corrupted black-scaled wolf howled in agony and twisted to lunge at him. But Vera's third arrow had already buried itself in its other eye. 55 weak point hit. All realm retinue feedback activated. Vera's bow stability increased. Even Vera froze for a split second. She could feel that shot had been steadier than usual. It was not that she had without warning returned to her peak. Some unseen force had steadied her hand as she drew the bow. Spotting the notification, Qin Wang wore a faint smile. Once favorability crossed the threshold, the system began to reciprocate. Minutes later, the corrupted black-scaled wolf collapsed inside the ruins. Corrupted black-scaled wolf slain. Obtain 2 crystal shards. Obtain 1 corrupted wolf pelt. Obtain 1 fragment of ancient elven outpost map. Vera unfolded the fragment, her expression shifting. "This is not a map of the outpost. It is a transport route." Qin Wang walked over. A black line linked the Moon Forest outpost, Blackstone Junction, and Blackstone Camp across the parchment. Beside the endpoint were blurred characters. Elven bloodlines transport in 3 days. Vera gripped the map tightly until her knuckles widened. Qin Wang looked at her, his tone calm. "It seems your kin are still alive." Vera lifted her eyes to meet his. "Help me." This time she cut straight to the point. Qin Wang said, "I will, but we cannot charge in blindly right now." Vera gritted her teeth and finally nodded. Vera favorability +5. Current favorability 65. Notice Vera's exclusive evolution path unlocked. Half-elf ranger Moonveil Warden. Qin Wang's eyes brightened as he read the prompt. The archer hunting system was officially opened. The next instant, faint green light without warning flickered atop the half-collapsed wooden tower. Deep inside the ruined outpost, an ancient notification surfaced, detecting restaurable structure, remnants of the Elven Watchtower. Upon restoration, able to train novice archer units. Qin Wang's gaze lit up completely upon seeing the message. This expedition had been more than worthwhile, detecting restaurable structure, remnants of the Elven Watchtower. Upon restoration, able to train novice archer units, Qin Wang studied the 2 lines of text. Thoroughly elated, this trip to the withered woods had exceeded all expectations. Originally, He had only planned to use Xiao Zhan to draw the Blackstone caravan's attention while casually helping Vera search for clues about her people. He had never imagined he would uncover leads, gain crystal shards, push Vera's favorability past 60, and discover the foundation for the Archer system. This was far more than a scouting mission. It was akin to stumbling upon an entirely new troop line. Vera stood before the broken wooden tower, her fingertips brushing the fading green runes. Her expression was tangled, filled with longing and suppressed rage. "The Moon Forest Watchtower is no ordinary sentinel tower," she whispered. "It trained wardens, teaching newcomers to track footprints, read wind currents, and spot beast trails. Long ago, so long as this tower's light burned, slave caravans dared not venture inside 30 love here." Qin Wang understood this was more than only a building. It was a symbol of the order Vera's people had once upheld. He opened the restoration requirements. Remnants of the Elven Watchtower, status damaged, corrupted, depleted of energy. Restoration materials: 150 timber, 80 stone, 2 crystal shards, 20 purified water. Special requirement: restoration must be overseen by an archer class unit. Post-restoration effect: unlock novice archer training. Expand territory scouting range. Qin Wang quickly tallied his supplies. Timber and stone were abundant. Slaying the corrupted black-scaled wolf had granted to more crystal shards. He carried 5 units of purified water on his person. Only one problem remained. They could not rebuild it here. The withered woods lay close to the void mist frontier, and the Blackstone caravan's route ran nearby. Rebuilding the watchtower on site would be like lighting a torch directly beneath the enemy's eyes. Qin Wang reached a decision swiftly. "Can we remove its core?" Vera stared in surprise. "You intend to move the watchtower back to your territory? We cannot defend this place," Qin Wang replied. "But if we take only the core and rebuild near the territory, we can hold it and train our own archers." Vera studied him and said nothing for a time. The Moon Forest Watchtower bore immense sentimental weight for her. Removing its core felt like acknowledging that this land was lost forever. Yet she knew Qin Wang spoke the truth. The dead could not guard their homeland. Only the living could relight what had been lost. Vera favorability +3. Current favorability 68. "We can," Vera said quietly. The watchtower core rests at the base of the wooden tower, tangled in corrupted vines. "They must be purified first." Elaine stepped forward, white light glowing in her palm. "Leave this to me." Platinum holy light washed over the tower's base. The gray-black vines writhed as if seared, letting out faint shrill cries. Pain flickered across Vera's face, and she drew her bow. Loosing an arrow to sever the thickest vine, Qin Wang lent his strength as well, prying rubble aside with his wooden spear to reveal a fist-sized green crystal core. Obtained damaged Elven Watchtower core, usable as special territory construction material. Notice this core is linked to Vera's destiny thread. Rebuilding the tower will strengthen Vera's sense of belonging. Reading the final line, Qin Wang grasped its value at once. This was far more than simple construction material. It was the key to raising favorability further, unlocking new troops and completing his scouting network. He stowed the watchtower core and ordered at once withdraw. Vera glanced instinctively toward the depths of the outpost. Unwilling to leave, Qin Wang did not rush her. He simply said, "We have yet to rescue your people, and the watchtower remains unbuilt. This is not the end. It is only the beginning." Vera's breath caught, and she nodded. Vera. Favorability +2. Current favorability 70. They traveled back far more cautiously than they had come. Vera led the way. Elaine suppressed corruption along the path, and Qin Wang memorized the terrain. Thanks to his boosted perception, he could easily pick out where the wind flowed unnaturally and which bushes might conceal threats. Such was the benefit of the system's feedback. As his companions grew stronger, his own weaknesses were gradually remedied. As they neared the territory, messages without warning flooded the world chat channel. Wang Tong announced that there really is a caravan outside Blackstone Junction. "I nearly got mauled by a black-scaled wolf. Lai Xiaoyang. No way you actually went there. Xiaoxian hostiles on the outskirts are stronger than estimated. Ordinary lords should stay clear. Anonymous. If even Xiaoxian says they're tough, I'll keep repairing my walls." A faint smile tugged at Qin Wang Zhang's lips as he read the messages. Xiaoxian had scouted ahead and suffered setbacks. This was ideal. The Blackstone caravan's attention would remain fixed on Xiaoxian, buying him time to utilize the watchtower core. Upon returning to the territory, the elder hurried forward to greet them. "My lord, the wooden walls have been fully repaired, and we have managed to craft crossbow bolts." Qin Wang nodded and placed the Elven Watchtower core on the open ground west of the wooden hut. Consume materials to reconstruct the Elven Watchtower. Reconstructed. Light erupted, timber, and stone assembled rapidly, forming a crude wooden tower barely 3 men tall. Its structure was unadorned, etched with faint leaf runes. Vera stood beneath the tower, eyes glistening. Elven watchtower reconstructed. Current tier damage tier 1. Effect territory scouting range +20. Unlock training apprentice archer. Training cost 1 bow, 10 arrows, 1 ration. Training must be supervised by Vera. Moments later, another notification popped up. Vera has developed a sense of belonging to the territory. Favorability +5. Current favorability 75. All realm retinue feedback enhanced. You gain perception +1. Gazing at the newly erected tower, Qin Wang felt a weight lift from his shoulders. They now possessed a stable water source, healing support, and frontline melee fighters, and now a ranged scouting force. This humble wooden hut settlement no longer only resembled a survival camp. It was slowly taking shape as a true territory. Qin Wang chose not to broadcast the notifications nor stir panic among the refugees. He summoned Chenshu and Zamu, then told Vera to select a steady young men. From this moment onward, train them to draw bows, read the wind, and track footsteps. Vera gripped her short bow without the slightest hesitation for the first time. I will. Apprentice archer training commenced. As the trainee roster was finalized, the green runes along the wooden tower lit up gently. It was as if answering the territory first archers. At that very moment, a new alert appeared on the regional event panel. The Blackstone slave caravan has sensed the aura of the Elven Watchtower. An advanced scouting party from the Blackstone caravan is approaching the withered woods. Qin Wang narrowed his eyes. Perfect timing. He had only just unlocked his archer troop line, and he needed opponents to test them against. Vera lifted her head and studied the new watchtower. The dampness in her eyes faded, replaced by icy resolve. She knocked her first arrow, her voice cold and low. This time they will not take anyone away. Qin Wang looked toward the withered woods, his smile fading. Inside the wooden palisade, the newly recruited archers tightened their grip on rough wooden boughs. The advanced scouting party from the Blackstone caravan was approaching the withered woods. The instant the alert appeared, Qin Wang did not order an immediate sortie. The new watchtower had only just been built, and the archers were still in training. The greatest danger right now was not the incoming enemy, but internal chaos. He stood along the inner side of the wall and turned to Vera. How large is the scouting party? Vera climbed the Elven watchtower, pressed her fingertips against the glowing runes carved into its surface, and closed her eyes to sense their surroundings. Faint green light shimmered across the damaged tower like ice slowly opening. Few footsteps. 3 people and 1 wolf, Vera said steadily as she opened her eyes. 1 beast tamer, 2 escorts. The black-scaled wolf is for tracking, not frontline combat. Qin Wang nodded. This force was not overwhelming, yet it was ideal for testing their new defenses. If they could not handle a scouting party, they stood no chance against the forces at Blackstone Junction. He issued his orders at once. Chenshu and Zhao Mumu were to guard the breach in the wooden wall and remain inside the spiked barrier. Elaine would stay behind the wall, reserving healing only for critically wounded fighters. Vera would take the 2 new archers up the watchtower. They were to aim only for the wolf's legs and the beast tamer's wrists. The goal was not to kill, but to disrupt. The 2 newly selected young men palled with nervousness. One was named Alan, the other Xiaoyi. They clutched their crude bows so tightly their knuckles whitened. Vera shot them a sharp glance. Your bows are not for shaking in front of enemies. Take aim. Draw fully and release. If you miss, do not shout. Knock another arrow at once. Alan swallowed hard. What if the wolf charges us? Qin Wang cut in. That will mean your first shot failed. The 2 youths grew even more apprehensive. Vera glanced toward Qin Wang. Vera favorability +1. Current favorability 76. Qin Wang thought that the system had certainly learned to read the atmosphere. Low wolf snuffling echoed from the direction of the withered woods soon after. The black-scaled wolf appeared first, sniffing the ground with an iron ring fastened around its neck. Behind it walked a robed beast tamer. 2 slave escorts flanked him, short blades drawn. Scanning the surroundings vigilantly, there is elven scent here, the beast tamer rasped. The aura of the old outpost has been reawakened. Lord Baru was right. Remnants of those mongrels still linger. Vera's fingertips tightened sharply around her knocked arrow. Qin Wang whispered, hold your shot. Vera said nothing yet steadied the arrow tip. She burned to kill, but she restrained herself. Stability of Vera's exclusive evolution questline increased. Qin Wang's eyes flickered. So mastering her emotions counted as growth. The beast tamer led the black-scaled wolf onward. The wolf's nose without warning turned toward the western section of the wooden wall. Qin Wang had deliberately left a scrap of corrupted wolf pelt there to mask their aura. The black-scaled wolf growled and advanced toward the sunken pit on the west side. Fire! At Qin Wang's command, Vera loosed her first arrow, driving it cleanly between the scales on the wolf's 4Gs a beat too long. One arrow skimmed the wolf's back, while the other stuck uselessly in the ground. The black-scaled wolf roared in agony. The beast tamer reached to yank its chain. Vera snapped, aimed for his wrist, this time. The two novice archers reacted quickly. Alan's second shot veered off target, forcing the tamer to pull his hand back. Xiao Yi's arrow buried itself in the tamer's forearm. Though the wound was shallow, it made the chain slip free. The black-scaled wolf broke partially free and stepped straight into the shallow western pit. Wooden stakes pierced its underbelly. It thrashed wildly, spilling blood across the dry grass. The two escorts paused and charged straight for the wooden wall. Zhenshu and Mu gripped their wooden spears. Qin Wang stood behind the spiked barriers, his voice calm, cutting through all panic. Wait until they cross the first tripwire. As the escorts reached the barricade, buried tripwires snapped taut. One man tumbled to the ground. The other barely kept his balance, only to be stabbed in the thigh by Zhao Muma's spear. Zhenshu roared and followed up, pinning the fallen escort to the earth. White holy light bloomed in Yulin's palm, settling over Zhao Muma's shoulder to block a counterslash from the trapped escort. Sacred blessing activated. Qin Wang did not strike. In this battle, he wanted to test the territory defensive line, not seek glory for himself. Vera's third arrow pierced the beast tamer's throat. It did not kill him outright, yet robbed him of the ability to shout orders. The black-scaled wolf still thrashed wildly. Qin Wang turned to Alan and Xiao Yi. Loose supplementary shots. Alan gasped for breath, his hands trembling violently, gritting his teeth. Xiao Yi released an arrow first, striking the edge of the wolf's neck. Alan followed suit at last, his arrow burying itself beneath the wolf's eye. The black-scaled wolf let out a miserable howl, its movements noticeably slowing. Vera lowered her bow and said coolly, "This is starting to look somewhat competent." Apprentice archer training progress increased. Alan gained trait, rudimentary steady aim. Xiao Yi gained trait, rudimentary ambush shot. The two new archers studied the system notifications, stunned for a moment before wild joy flooded their faces. Qin Wang did not let them revel for long. Chun Shurhamu secured the captives alive. One of the two guards was severely wounded, the other pinned. Qin Wang stepped over to the gasping beast tamer and knelt to meet his gaze. "Where is Baru?" Blood foamed in the beast tamer's mouth, yet he still wore a grin. "You lit the elven watchtower. Blackstone Caravan will never let you off. In 3 days, all those with elven blood will be transferred. You cannot save anyone." Vera's expression turned icy, the tip of her arrow pressing against his forehead. Qin Wang raised a hand to stop her. The more he talks, the more valuable he becomes. He looked toward his panel. Captured 1 blackstone beast tamer, captured 2 slave guards. Killed 1 black-scaled wolf, obtained 1 magic crystal shard, 1 black-scaled wolf pelt, 1 tracking iron ring. Regional event contribution increased. Qin Wang gaze locked onto the tracking iron ring. Tracking iron ring. Common gear used by blackstone beast tamers, able to sense the aura of matching iron chains. Matching iron chains. He instantly thought of the chains binding Sia and the line from Vera's tattered map about the transfer in 3 days. Qin Wang slowly lifted his head. "Vera, your clansmen might wear identical iron rings or chains." Vera's breath caught. Sia limped closer, leaning on her broken sword. Her eyes fell upon the tracking iron ring, and her expression darkened. "I saw these when I was captured." Qin Wang stowed the ring, his tone calm. "That simplifies things." He looked deeper into the withered woodland. "The Blackstone Caravan believes this is their tool to hunt down fugitives. Now it belongs to us. Next time, he would let this ring lead the way straight to the true transfer site." Qin Wang saw Xiaochun's private message, but chose not to reply at once. He looked toward the bound scout captain, then at Chen, Xuan and Lu Ha, who had only just learned to steady their bows beneath the watchtower. The blades of the Blackstone Caravan were already reaching for them. But this time, he would not only defend the Wunan Palisade. The 3-day transfer window was his chance to strike back and seize control of Blackstone Crossing. Xiao Xian answered that I found wagon tracks leading to Blackstone Crossing. Qin Wang replied that did you know about this all along? Qin Wang read the message without the slightest trace of surprise. Xiao Yi would never overlook Blackstone Crossing. Now that he held the caravan's iron token and knew the direction Baru had retreated, he was bound to scout the outer perimeter. The discovery of wagon tracks meant the Blackstone Caravan's movements could no longer be concealed. The transfer of captives with special bloodlines in 3 days' time was no minor threat. It was both a prize and a blade laid before every novice lord. Those who seized it would gain population, prestige, and resources. Those who failed would face the caravan's retaliation. Anyone who reached for the prize would risk ruin. Instead of replying at once, Qin Wang knelt before the scout captain. The man's hands were tied, an arrow from Vera still embedded in his leg. Pale-faced, he clamped his jaw shut and refused to speak. Qin Wang picked up the bone whistle and waved it in front of his eyes. "If you blow this, can the men at Blackstone Crossing hear it?" The scout captain sneered. "Novice lord, you have provoked forces far beyond your station. When Lord Bar arrives with his men, your shabby wooden hut will burn to ashes." Qin Wang nodded, "So they can hear it." The scout captain's face froze. Vera said coldly, "This bone whistle sends alarm signals. Different blasts carry different meanings." He was about to sound the highest alert just now. Qin Wang asked, "What does the highest alert signify?" Vera studied the scout captain. "Detection of an elven watchtower, or discovery of escaped special bloodline captives." A flicker of rage flashed in the scout captain's eyes. Qin Wang smiled. "Perfect, everything lines up." He opened his private chat and replied to Xiao Xian. Qin Wang replied that I only just learned. Xiao Xian answered that do you expect me to believe that? Qin Wang replied that whether you believe me matters little. The wagon tracks are real. Xiao Xian answered that you also only just heard about the transfer of special bloodlines in 3 days? Qin Wang's eyes narrowed. Xiao Xian had also uncovered the timeline. It seemed there was more than just wagon tracks at Blackstone Crossing. There might be leftover escort markers or even 1 or 2 outer guards he had captured. Qin Wang replied that since we both know, let us cut to the chase. The Blackstone caravan will pass Blackstone Crossing in 3 days. What is your plan? Xiao Xian answered that alliance. Qin Wang was not surprised by those 2 words. Xiao Xian dared not attempt this alone. The Blackstone caravan possessed bronze tier leader Baro, beast tamers, and black-scaled wolves. Xiao Xian's flamage dealt heavy damage. Yet novice territories fielded few troops. If the caravan targeted him, he might not survive the clash. Qin Wang replied that on the other hand had Vera's experience navigating void mist, watchtower surveillance, and the newly captured scout captain. Each side needed what the other held. Qin Wang replied that what form will this alliance take? Xiao Xian answered that I will deploy my flamage alongside 3 combat lords to hold the escort convoy head-on. You supply the route, trap placements, and elven watchtower reconnaissance. Rescued survivors will be divided according to contribution. Qin Wang nearly laughed upon reading. Divided according to contribution. Words like that were only for show. When chaos erupted, whoever seized the captives kept them. The clause was only an excuse for the strong to split the spoils afterward. Qin Wang replied that you hold the front while I sneak in to rescue people. You are being unusually generous. Xiao Xian answered that you may distress me, yet you should want to save those captives. Qin Wang glanced toward Vera. She stood beneath the watchtower, fingers clenched tightly around the tattered transfer route map, suppressing a deep cold fury in her eyes. She truly wanted to rescue her kin. But Qin Wang would not gamble the entire territory for her wish. Qin Wang replied that saving lives is acceptable. Marching to our deaths is not. I require the full route, number of escorts, and confirmation whether Bar travels with the convoy. Xiao Xian answered that I am still investigating those details. Qin Wang replied that then we negotiate once you have answers. Xiao Xian said nothing for a moment. Xiao Xian answered that scout captain in your custody must know far more. Qin Wang looked down at the captive on the ground. So Xiao Xian had guessed. But guessing did not mean he could obtain the information. Qin Wang replied that I can interrogate him. Any intelligence I extract will not come free. Xiao Xian answered that what do you demand? Qin Wang. 100 iron ore, 5 units of fire oil, 50 portions of grain. Xiao Xian answered that are you robbing me? Qin Wang. The Blackstone caravan would say the same thing. Xiao Xian did not reply for a long time. Qin Wang was in no hurry. He turned and instructed the elder. Lock the scout captain separately. Ensure he cannot reach the bone whistle. Interrogate the other captives apart. Find out the number of escorts in 3 days' time, the route, convoy formation. In secret signals, Xia leaned against a nearby tree and spoke without warning. Do you truly intend to ally with Xiao Xian? Qin Wang shook his head. The talk of alliance is for his benefit. Our real goal is to make him believe he will engage the convoy head-in. Vera lifted her head. And what about us? Qin Wang walked over to the map and drew a thin line beside Blackstone Crossing. The escort convoy will not stick solely to the main road. Captives with special bloodlines are immensely valuable, so they must have an alternate route. Xiao Xian will watch the main path while we seek the side trail. We do not need to defeat every guard to rescue the prisoners. We only need to throw the convoy into disorder and seize the most valuable carriage. Elaine whispered softly. But what if Beard travels with them? then we must avoid direct combat at all cost. Qin Wang fingertip rested between the rocky gully and the withered woodland. This stretch is narrow, densely wooded, not far from our territory, and sufficiently distant from Zhao Xian's flame mages. The Blackstone caravan will guard against Zhao Xian. They will not anticipate us at once. Sia studied the map, her eyes lighting up. You plan to use Zhao Xian as an open flame while we strike as a hidden arrow. Qin Wang corrected her. I'm not forcing him into the role. He volunteers for it. Sia of favorability +1. Current favorability 42. Just then, another private message flashed. Zhao Xian 50 iron ore, 3 units of fire oil, 30 portions of grain. Qin Wang sent his reply straight away. Qin Wang deal. But this only buys the first batch of intelligence. Zhao Xian. Once the trade concluded and Qin Wang received the supplies, he turned to the scout captain. Now tell me your convoy's alternate transfer route for 3 days from now. The scout captain's face padded sharply. How do you know there's a second route? Qin Wang smiled faintly. Because I know what it means to fear death. Those words shattered the scout captain's composure at last. The system panel surfaced instantly. Interrogation successful. Obtain vital intelligence. Blackstone caravan. Alternate transfer route. Alternate route. Northern withering woodlands. Old hunting trail. Transfer targets. 3 captives of elven blood to half-elven hunters. Vera's breath hitched. Qin Wang read the notification, his smile fading slowly. The system panel surfaced instantly. Interrogation successful. Obtain vital intelligence. Blackstone caravan. Alternate transfer route. Alternate route. Northern withering woodlands. Old hunting trail. Transfer targets. 3 captives of elven blood to half-elven hunters. As these lines appeared, Vera's fingers dug almost deep enough to break her skin. To half-elven hunters meant her clansmen still lived. They would most likely be inside the transfer convoy in 3 days. Qin Wang offered no empty comfort. He simply marked the alternate route on the territory sketch and told the elder to fetch charcoal. He redrew connections linking the withering woodlands, Old Hunting Trail, Rocky Gully, and Blackstone Crossing. Soon a rough yet clear miniature map lay upon the wooden table. The Old Hunting Trail ran north of the withering woodlands, not far from Blackstone Crossing, yet far more concealed than the main road. Dense trees, shallow gullies, and poor visibility made it ideal for transporting high V-value captives, and equally ideal for ambushes. Vera murmured, the Old Hunting Trail was once our Rurz's path. Outsiders lack knowledge of safe resting spots. Anyone who ventures in blindly can be trapped by vine pits and beast dens. Qin Wang looked toward her. Does the Blackstone caravan know this trail? If they captured personnel from Moon Forest Watch Station, they may have learned fragments of it. Vera replied coldly. But they will never know it as well as I do. This information was critical. Qin Wang tapped the middle stretch of the Old Hunting Trail. Can we stage an attack here? Vera studied the spot briefly and shook her head. An attack is possible, yet poor for a rescue. The path is far too narrow. If a wagon overturns, the captives will be crushed. This stretch is better suited for cutting off pursuers. Qin Wang pointed to a bend closer to the withering woodlands. What about this location? Vera's eyes stirred. There is a low slope beside a tangled vinnick. With advanced preparations, we can split the convoy apart, separating the front and rear sections. Qin Wang nodded. This will be our chosen site. Sia frowned. You mean we will not engage the entire escort convoy, only seize a section in the middle? Not exactly seize the middle, Qin Wang explained. We will make them believe trouble erupts at the center. The front party will turn back. The rear party will surge forward. And we will extract the wagon. The wagon held those with special bloodlines. Sia said nothing. The tactic was underhanded yet perfectly matched their current strength. They were not powerful enough to crush the Blackstone caravan. They could only snatch the most valuable prize. Elaine asked quietly, what if the captive wagon is not positioned in the middle? Qin Wang looked toward the scout captain tied to a wooden stake. The man's expression was grim. He had attempted feigning unconsciousness. Yet he flinched instinctively when Qin Wang's gaze landed on him. What is the order of the transfer convoy? The scout captain gritted his teeth and refused to answer. Qin Wang showed no anger. He placed the bone whistle on the table and spoke slowly. I will not blow it, but I can order Vera to sound a false alarm. The men at Blackstone Crossing will believe your scout squad. Discover the Elven Watchtower, and then vanish without a trace. The scout captain turned deathly pale. Qin Wang continued. What do you think Biru will conclude? Will he believe you betrayed him, or dismiss you as incompetent? I have no patience left. Qin Wang cut him off. The convoy formation. The scout captain's Adam's apple bobbed. At last, he whispered. 2 wolves and 4 guards lead to vanguard. Two wooden wagons follow at the center. The first carries ordinary refugees, the second holds captives with special bloodlines. 6 guards and 1 beast tamer form the rear guard. Bara will wait at Blackstone Crossing. Qin Wang's expression darkened. Bara would not accompany the convoy, but would lie and wait at the end of his point. This meant opportunities existed along the old hunting trail. Yet, Blackstone Crossing was too dangerous to assault. Supplementary interrogation successful. Transfer convoy formation updated. Primary target, the second wooden wagon. Vera studied those 5 words, her breathing growing noticeably rapid. Qin Wang pressed his palm against the edge of the map, his voice steady. We have 3 days to complete 3 tasks. First, train the archers. Shuren and Lu Ha must reliably target enemy legs. Second, relocate part of the fire oil traps to the old hunting trail. Third, construct a safe withdrawal route leading back to our territory from the ambush site. The elder spoke hesitantly. Lord, if we move traps and troops out, will the territory be left undefended? We will not deploy everyone, Qin Wang said. Construction of the wooden palisade continues. Guards remain at the watchtower, and Elaine will not stray far from the territory. We are not abandoning our home, only extending a hand outward. The refugees felt slightly reassured by these words. They feared battle less than the prospect of their lord gambling everything on a reckless fight. Qin Wang would never gamble blindly. At the very least, he would not stake all he owned. Work erupted across the territory at once. Vera trained Shu Ran and Lu Ha to aim for legs. The goal was not instant kills, only halting enemy charges, though wounded. Xia instructed Chen Shu and Zhao Mu on how to hold choke points inside narrow terrain. Elaine divided purified fresh water into small portions for the ambush squad to carry. Qin Wang sorted through their newly acquired resources. 50 iron ore, 3 fire oil, 30 grain, to magic crystal shards, 1 tracking iron ring, 1 bone whistle. Fire oil formed the core of their traps. The tracking ring could be used to mislead the black-scaled wolves. The bone whistle was both their most dangerous and most valuable asset. Used wisely, it could trigger confusion inside the caravan. Used carelessly, it would maroon them by summoning Baru ahead of schedule. Right then, another private message arrived from Xiao Xian. Xiao Xian answered that where is the second batch of intelligence? Qin Wang looked toward the map and replied, Qin Wang, the Blackstone caravan will transfer captives via Blackstone Crossing in 3 days. Reinforcements wait at the front. Do not charge head-on. Xiao Xian answered that is all, Qin Wang. This is all the first batch of materials purchased. Xiao Xian answered that Qin Wang, you are definitely holding more information back. Qin Wang smiled. Qin Wang replied that are you not doing the same? No further replies came. Qin Wang knew Xiao Xian would keep investigating the main route and gather more men toward Blackstone Crossing. This was perfect. The brighter the open flame, the deadlier the hidden arrow. As night deepened, Vera finally set down her short bow. Shu Ran now hit his target once every 3 shots. Lu Hai's hands still shook, yet he no longer closed his eyes blindly. Vera walked beside Qin Wang and lowered her voice. If we succeed in rescuing them in 3 days, I will owe you my life. Qin Wang studied the marking for the old hunting trail and shook his head. Do not owe me your life. Return alive and train archers for me. Vera froze briefly, then smiled softly. Vera favorability +2. Current favorability 77. Without warning, a faint circle of pale green light ignited atop the Elven Watchtower. Elven Watchtower reconnaissance activated. Detected 1 Blackstone caravan hidden sentry location entrance to the old hunting trail. Qin Wang slowly lifted his gaze. It seemed the transfer scheduled for 3 days later had not begun. Yet men were already lying in wait along the old hunting. The Watchtower's warning confirmed that Blackstone agents were already watching the hunting trail. Qin refused to answer fear with a reckless charge, because every advantage still needed protection. He ordered tighter patrols, quieter training, and new decoy routes around the territory. Elaine preserved the settlement's water, morale, and wounded fighters without revealing her true rank. Vera transformed frightened refugees into archers who could finally defend themselves from range. Xia turned raw recruits into a melee line capable of holding narrow ground. Every woman who trusted Qin strengthened him, his forces, and the territory through the hidden retinue system. The broken hut now possessed purified water, reinforced walls, traps, healing, scouts, archers, and disciplined defenders. None of those gains came from the rank rewards everyone had celebrated on arrival. They came from 1 F-rank MAID token, 1 concealed evolution talent, and Qin's refusal to waste either. The region still argued whether his success came from luck, traps, terrain, or some hidden combat unit. Qin let them argue, because confusion protected him better than any public explanation. His name already stood on the defense leaderboard after a bronze-tier chieftain failed to break his gate. Clean water trades continued feeding his resource advantage, while his rivals struggled to keep refugees loyal. Blackstone had marked him as an enemy, but that only gave his growing territory a target. Xiao Xian watched him with suspicion, unaware that every probe created another opportunity for Qin. Long before the novice protection ended, the supposedly weakest lord had already built a complete power system. The maid mocked as useless had become the first pillar of a divine court hidden behind wooden walls. Qin no longer needed the region to admit it had judged him wrongly. The lord mocked for recruiting an F-rank maid had turned that ridicule into the foundation of a rising divine territory.